Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another weekly Wednesday live stream. I'm Peter.
I'm Peter.
And this guy is also called Peter. What's going on?
It's amazing.
Yeah, we had a joke here. It's too many Peters per square meters, right? And I think that was one of the things that was said at some point. Anyway, yeah, that's not confusing at all. I know. Well, there's a small difference. There's a little I in my name, and in his there's not. His is the more traditional name that you can also find
I'm
in
the real
English.
Peter.
Exactly. Anyway, welcome to today's stream. Of course, we are going to be talking all about the RTX 3080. So not last week, 2 weeks ago it was already. We of course talked all about the 30 series when it launched. And yeah, I mean, we could show you certain things back then, but we couldn't show you everything. Most specifically, we couldn't show you anything about performance. Now, of course, we can, so we will. As you can see right there, I cannot touch it because I'm superimposed here. You know, I'm actually being cut off.
I can touch it.
You can, yeah, exactly. So we actually have a test platform right there with on it a, well, you say it. It is the glorious
RTX, oh no, it's a MSI, what is the full name?
GeForce RTX 3080
Yes.
Gaming X Trio.
Gaming X Trio, yes.
Yeah, and so we're going to be showing you some live benchmarks on that rig. If everything goes well. We just downloaded the drivers it's just an hour ago, I think, when they went live. So, and it's the exact drivers that you would download if you have a card right now and you download them from the website. So it's literally, it's nothing fancy, no media drivers, nothing. It's like everything you would get.
It's a normal driver for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, yeah, the plan is to show you some benchmarks, both in 3D mark, so it's like synthetic benchmarks, but also we've prepared some games for you, because of course we also want to see real-world gaming performance. And in the end, if we have some time, we will also do a teardown. And you've got several cards, well, in front of me, I would say, but I actually cannot touch them, sadly. You can, and you will probably at the end near the end of the stream.
Yes.
Because we will do a teardown of VENTUS and hopefully also of gaming. But due to the fact that we only have one sample on hand, it will be the exact sample that's actually in here.
It's this one.
Yes, yeah. So first we want to do the benchmarks, of course, before we do the teardown. Otherwise, you know, it's going to be a bit messy. Cooling doesn't work that well when it's torn down, let's say. Anyway, but before we get into that, a couple of things. One, of course, as you can see on the right side of over Peter's left shoulder, I would say, we have a giveaway today. Always Steam wallet code that you can win $20. I think we even have a special. Here we go in the middle of us here at the bottom. You can go to msi.com/2/insider. Follow the instructions there. We're also trying something new with a chatbot, I'm told, so I'm not sure if that's working because the chatbot in the past was giving us a bit of trouble. But let's see if this one works better. That should spam the direct link to the but it should send you the direct link to the giveaway as well. If it doesn't, let us know. Then we'll also try and put it in the chat for you guys. Can it run OSU? Hell yes, it can. We'll show you some stuff it can run. Don't worry. We'll get to that. And we are streaming, just as a reminder, on multiple platforms. So we're streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and used to be Mixer, but that no longer is a thing. So yeah, that's it. But that means there's a hell of a lot of chat from you guys, which we really appreciate, but it's really hard to keep up with it. Do keep sending us your interesting questions, so we'll try to pick the ones out that we can answer and we think are most interesting for everybody. Where are the drivers? They should be on the website, Hayden Smith. I am ready for Peter. Nice. When restock? Soon, should be. I don't know. Very specific question there.
Yeah, the drivers, you can find them on the internet, but yes. I don't think they're available on Nvidia itself yet. They're still hiding somewhere. But
should be, because it's that time.
Yeah, they should be there, and otherwise they will be very, very soon.
Exactly. So I mean, it should be today at all. M0D or Mod, I love you too. Like I said, I'm just trying to keep up with the chat. It's just wow. Merrick, good to see you again as well. Too much to go on. So before we go into benchmarks and stuff, we've got something special for you guys. We have arranged for somebody from Nvidia themselves to join us live in the stream. So let's see if we can, if that person is here. If you have followed our streams for a long time, you might remember him because after the Turing launch, we also were lucky enough to have Lars on the stream, and here he is.
Servus. Hi.
Hello, Lars.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey.
Very good. How are you?
Great, thanks. Yeah, I'm really happy that we now can actually talk about the performance because that was like the elephant in the room, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we are waiting so long for this hour to finally come. So availability now, I mean, and it's totally crazy out there. I just checked some major e-tailers in the UK, Northern Europe, they are down. Their websites are down by the demand. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I mean, if you come up with a product like that, then can you really be that surprised?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, it's PC gaming, but you can just see PC gaming. I mean, what we're saying, it's really taking off.
Yes.
I mean, and I love it. I'm a PC gamer, so I'm totally excited.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. I mean, because we had a couple of questions prepared because we want to cover some main things. Obviously, we'll see if we can have a few questions in the chat in the meantime as well. I'll see if I can include the PowerPoint at the same time because then we can the slides that were prepared as well for some of the things. So before we go into any of the questions from the chat. Can you explain a little bit to the chat who you are and what you do in Nvidia, maybe, so that people kind of get a feel for who is this guy and what does he do?
Yeah, so I joined Nvidia pretty much almost 14 years ago. I'm working in the tech marketing department in Europe. So meaning I'm helping PR, sales, all on technical sides, customers. So whenever it comes to any technical things in Europe, I'm going to be involved. So my expertise is GeForce Desktop. So we have a team with many people with different specific specialties. One is laptop, another one is doing gaming, and mine is GeForce Desktop. So
right.
Pretty much 3080, that's my thing right now.
So we've got the right guy. We can say that.
I hope so. I'm as good as it can get, right?
I'm pretty sure. Because the thing is, we really want to see if we can get a little bit more technical information. I mean, you're a technical marketing guy, so hopefully you can, engineers, when you ask them a technical question, they will just spit out a bunch of numbers and stuff, but it's quite hard for people to make sense of it, like, okay, but what does that mean? So I hope you can kind of also help to translate that into some, more marketing or clear language, let's say. First up then, let's say, because of course there's a major difference compared to Turing, right? We also had a presentation. It's a huge leap. So what is that mostly down? What would you say are the major differences between Turing and Ampere? If you had to pick just a few or highlight just a couple of them.
Yeah, the main difference is pretty much we put all the learnings that we did with Turing, which is our first generation RTX,
right,
and brought them and improved them with Ampere. So we are pretty much saying we have three different cores. So we have the shader cores, rasterization, and then with Turing we introduced the RT cores for ray tracing, acceleration, and then we have the tensor cores doing AI stuff. And so that was our first generation RTX. So now with Ampere, we took that architecture and improved it even further. So we had a lot of learnings, an example on the RT cores, where we just make certain things faster. So we improved some of the caches, some internals, which I can't talk about. But so in the end, we improved a lot. So, right. And the major difference in the RT cores, an example, we doubled the rate triangle intersection rate over Turing. And that can help with very high ray tracing workloads, especially when you use a lot of ray tracing, when you use reflections. And then you could get into some bottlenecks at some point in Turing, and we improved that. And same for the tensor cores. We changed the tensor core, so we have less tensor cores now.
Right.
But each tensor core is pretty much twice as fast.
And this is purely at a hardware architecture level, right? So this is even without taking into account things like DLSS or the sparse matrix, all the optimizing things that you've done in the drivers and besides that, basically.
Yeah, sparsity, that's a special feature of the tensor core that we introduced with Ampere now, and the 30 series can do that as well. And that is pretty much weighting when you have a neural network, so you pretty much discard all these values that are 0, that have very low probability. So that is how the AI networks work. So we don't need to spend any time on that. So it's a kind of optimization, but that's a mix of hardware and software.
Yeah.
And with that, you can even double the performance in some cases.
Yeah, because I think what a lot of people, we saw a lot of reviews yesterday as well, and I mean, to be fair, a lot of them said it's impressive, but because this 2 times or up to 2 times performance was there, some people ended up being kind of, I don't want to say disappointed, but it is important to note that yes, it's up to, and it really can differ per game. So you really have to, I don't want to say watch out, but don't just assume that there's going to be everywhere on the whole a 2 times performance uplift, at least not yet. Sometimes like DLSS, I remember after Turing launch you also joined us on the show and you were talking about DLSS, and at that point DLSS was also kind of like, it was a really cool idea, but we didn't see that many examples of it yet, and those that were there were a bit rough around the edges, I guess we could say. But in the last 2 years DLSS has really proven to be something that can just boost things beyond, I think, most people's expectations in terms of the performance that you get without having to lose any visual visual eye candy or visual how do you call it, fidelity, I guess. So yeah, for that it's really awesome to see, and also with all the other things going on. All right. Let's see, we also had, so those are the main things, you would say, or one of the main things?
Yeah, I mean, on the performance side, well, we said it's up to 2 times, and we have a lot of examples where we can show the 2 times performance with it, and that is sometimes with ray tracing, sometimes without ray tracing.
Right.
We have examples in Minecraft, of course, it's path tracing, you see the benefits there, but also in Wolfenstein Youngblood. And of course, it's up to, it depends on so many factors.
Yes.
And CPU limitation is an important one, because the cards are so fast that even in 1440p, you run in CPU limitations. So of course, it's debatable. I mean, it's not everywhere 2 times. It's just technically not possible. And many also comparing against a 2080 Ti and saying, the gap to a 2080 Ti is not so big, but well, it's a different segment. It's still 30-40%. And it's a different product segment, and this is a totally different price range. So if you compare to a 2080, you get a huge upgrade, and especially when you upgrade from an older generation like Pascal, it's huge. I mean, no matter how big the number is that you see, I think it takes you 10-15 years back when you saw such a big leap from one generation to another. So Maxwell to Pascal was big. To the 1080, that was the biggest one that we had before, and now this is bigger. So and you're doing your best with your partner cards now to get this even higher with your SKUs.
I mean, it's an amazing feat that pulled off, of course. But let's see how it goes. We also later on in the stream we've got some reviews from media. We also which went online just about an hour ago. So we spent the last hour just scrambling through the website, see what we can find in these. So we have some results there to see how good is the card. And also yesterday we saw indeed, compared to for example the 10 series, just how big the gap is. Also some slides are included about that. Because I think everybody, including myself, I've been using a 1080 Ti for a long time, which is a great card at 4040p. But it's just crazy the jump that you can make now with for example, a 3080 or something like that.
Maybe you need to upgrade your 1080 Ti. It's getting old.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is. Yeah, even though it's still a great card, and I'm not complaining. But
No, you need something faster.
There's always faster things indeed. All right. Then, for example, the new streaming multiprocessors. You mentioned something about around twice the efficiency on some parts. The streaming multiprocessor, for example. How is that possible? Is that just due to using a different process, so a smaller process, so you can fit more transistors on the same surface, or is it also to do with the efficiency of the architecture itself?
Yeah, it's a mix of both. So as you know, we're using a custom 8nm process from Samsung. So we shrinked from Turing. So we're getting much more transistors on the die right now at the same size. And this is an example where we run control in 4K. So this is very specific to this particular game. Mm-hmm. And we're comparing a 2080 where there's a 3080, and we're just plotting the curve on performance, FPS, and how much power the cards consume. Yeah. And you can see that Turing, the 2080, maxes out at 240 watts, which is the TDP. Yeah. Generates 60 FPS. An Ampere throttled to 60, 3080 only consumes 130 watts. Yes. So we can also draw a line vertically where we say, okay, let's look at 240 watts, and we go from 60 to about 90 FPS. Which is a nice speed up. Yes. But we designed the GA102, which is in the 3080 and 3090, to be able to use more power. Right. And that's a specialty in with the 3080 and 3090, because normally when you look at the curve with Turing, with the 2080, if you would plot it further to 300 watts, it wouldn't speed up a lot because it's flattening out. Yeah. And that's what you have with extreme overclocking. You need liquid nitrogen to get temperatures down to be able to put more power in, yes, because it will just crash. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And with 3080, with the GA102, we designed it to eat up more power, but translate it into more performance, so it can handle it, and it scales. Yeah. And that's the difference. So yes, we have more power, mm-hmm, and it's using more power, but it's translating it into performance. It's not that this is wasted power, so it's pretty much power where you scale up. Right. So we could have done a 250 watts GPU that would have been 95 FPS in this case, yeah, but we crank it up to 320 and end up at 115. Yeah. And that when you compare 60 to that frame rate, it's all again about 1.9 better. But of course, this is in control, because we got some feedback saying, it's not everywhere. Every game has a different perf per watt curve. And if you would test 1080p, that would be different too. Yes. So it's an up to. But it just shows how effective it can be. And control is using DLSS, ray tracing, and rasterization. So all in combination. And this is how we can crank it up to use our tech that we put into the GPU. So don't get distracted. It's an up to. It's not always 1.9 or 2x, because it's variable. It depends on your resolution, on your CPU, on so many factors, on the game, and on your settings. Yes. And but also PC gaming, right?
But also if you see throughout the generation, usually things like games get better adapted to new hardware, for example. Drivers get optimization. So during a generation, you also usually tend to see some optimization happening, either on an individual game or in general. So also I guess don't forget, this is just right now off the bat. So that's not to say that some games might actually get. For example, when they start using DLSS and they're not using it right now, or new games coming out, you might get a much bigger jump even. So it's just it's a baseline right now at least. So, but it's pretty nice. One of the other things that was really also improved was the tensor core. So. Yep. Oh, sorry, and the memory I also see. But let's check out the tensor cores first.
Tensor cores?
Yeah, well, it's part of this part indeed.
Here we go.
So what exactly was changed in it's the third gen tensor cores as well. So I think a lot of people might be confused because they think, okay, Turing first gen, where was the second gen?
Yeah, Volta was the first generation of tensor cores.
There you go.
So with Volta, we introduced tensor cores for the first time. And then we used that, an improved architecture of that from Volta in Turing. And this is why it's now the third one on the tensor core side. Yes. And so we also changed pretty much with Ampere with GA100, the compute part, we did some changes to the tensor cores. And there pretty much what we have right now is we reduce the number of tensor cores in general per unit, per SM, in our streaming multiprocessor. But we pretty much doubled the performance of each tensor core. And so we just take a different approach on the tensor core and the performance. So it's more optimized, less cores, but faster cores. And overall, since you have more SMs in a 3080 over 2080, just by that, you already have a better performance. So in worst case, every SM in Ampere is as fast as Turing. That is the worst case, but you have more of them, so you're already faster from a card perspective, 3080, 2080. And then you have the feature like sparsity. When this is working and usable, then you're getting another 2 times speed up. So overall, the whole tensor core performance is better, and it's much more balanced now on within the SM.
It's maturing nicely, I guess you could say. It's really more mature than last generation, indeed.
Yeah, pretty much everything. It's same for the software that we're using. You talked about DLSS, and so we launched DLSS 2.0.
Yes.
And that is one of the major applications or use cases that gamers are interested in to use tensor cores.
Yes.
As of yet, there's more coming, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But there's pretty much DLSS. We launched it. It worked. It was faster, but it was blurry.
Yeah.
It was okay.
It was a bit rough.
In some games it worked well, in others not so. It only worked in certain resolutions. So it had lots of limitations.
Yeah.
And a couple of months ago, we launched DLSS 2.0. And that is pretty much a complete different approach to DLSS. Yeah. So we only using one network for all games. It's using in all resolutions with all RTX GPUs. And what we're doing pretty much still is we are rendering the frame at a lower resolution without AA. That is the same than before.
Right.
And then we use our AI network to reconstruct it in the final resolution. So an example, we have set the game to 1080p, we enable DLSS. Now the game is rendering 720p. Yeah. And using the network, and you're getting an end result that is 50% faster, and it looks better than native resolution. Yeah. And that's a bit crazy. And the magic behind this, what we're doing is, and that is a major difference in DLSS 2.0, since let's say we're running at 60, 70, 80 FPS, and that means we're generating 80 frames per second, and we have already generated a lot of frames in the past. And this is where DLSS can access those frames. So we're not only using the reconstruction of one 720p frames, but we have already rendered frames before, just milliseconds before. And DLSS can access those frames as well. So you have 5, 6, 7 frames that you can access with your network and generate out of these frames a final image. And you have a motion vector that's telling you how the image is moving and everything. And the AI compensates for that, and this is how you get more detail than native resolution with DLSS. And that works pretty well. I think we have I've sent some slides over from Death Stranding where you can see a difference. Not sure if you can show these, but anyways, we have them online. And so this is pretty much the magic of DLSS 2.0, why it's getting more details than you would have in a native resolution. And that's even true for 4K. And then you get a 50% speed up on top. So if you want to talk about the 2 times speed up and so on, if you consider DLSS on top of it, so some people cry, Nvidia did too much marketing on their speed ups. Well, we didn't use any DLSS versus standard rasterization numbers. So we really went apples to apples with everything. We could have gone even higher if we just factor in DLSS, especially over Pascal. But think of DLSS, you're getting a free speed up 50% if you want to. You don't have to use it. But it's for the games that are supporting it, and it's getting more and more. It's really awesome.
Yeah, because you mentioned, it has to be supported in the game. It's not something that you can just, upload the drivers and then, put it over like a filter. That's not how it works. But I asked you earlier today, we were talking a little bit about this, and you also mentioned that it's actually relatively, I don't want to say easy, I'm not a developer, a game developer or something like that, but it should not be that hard to actually include it, because it uses a lot of the information that the game is already creating naturally to draw the images on the screen, right?
Yeah, pretty much any game that's using TAA for anti-aliasing, which is giving you the motion vectors that you need, that can be equipped or updated with DLSS.
Yeah.
So, and we're working with all engine developers, Unreal Engine, Unity Engine. So with those engine developers, and it's getting a lot more traction, because in the beginning it were only games that are using ray tracing as well.
Yes.
But now you have a lot of games, F1 2020, Death Stranding, that are using DLSS as well, just because it's so good, and it's just free performance that you can use, and it's not 100% perfect. It's pretty much, from the testing I've seen, 99% perfect, maybe 98, whatever. Like every AA technique has flaws. Like MSIA doesn't do any texture sharpening. Then TAA has some temporal artifacts, and FXAA is blurry. So no matter what, any AA algorithm has some drawbacks, and DLSS is not perfect yet. But the beauty of an AI network is we can make it better over time, because it's not hard-coded. So we're getting better and better with every game that we're adding and with everything we're learning.
And I guess one of the real questions now is should DLSS be considered a cheat? If you are saying, like, back in the day it was, can it run Crysis? Now it's, can it run MS Flight Simulator 2020, right? And if you then add in DLSS, it actually might become a bit too easy to run it, because it's...
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a cheat, because you have a free choice if you use it or not. And it depends. I mean, we're seeing that from an end user perspective. So the end user, let's say you have a 2060 and a 4K monitor, you wouldn't be able to run Control, an example, in 4K with ray tracing. And by using DLSS, you can, at the same image quality, or even a better image quality, to native resolution. So you could call that
it's a win-win situation,
or a trick, but it's for an owner of the card, why would you not do that? It's free performance that you can use.
Yes, it's a trick. It's as in, you know, it's what I prefer to call it. It's like optimization, because it's the same thing you guys did, I think, in back in Battlefield. You know, first generation, one of the first games with RTX. When it launched, you turn on RTX, big performance hit. But then you go and look at, okay, how can we optimize it? And you stumble onto all kinds of things like, but wait a minute, we actually, part of these rays, we don't have to render, because it's like, and so you start going into that process of, okay, can we eliminate kind of things that we don't need to focus on? And then you already have a big performance bump, and that was quite fast after launch, I remember. So. Yeah, I mean, that's the process, and DLSS is in a different way, but it's all about optimizing and then finding ways of, okay, how can we use this method of either improving graphics, as in RTX, for example, or DLSS, which is more of a method of how can we very cleverly downscale something and then use downscaled images or lower resolution images, upscale them through the AI cores, and then basically have, like you say, 99% the same result. Very hard to spot the differences for most people.
Yeah, and it's in some cases, like I said, even better quality. And that's the magic of the Tensor cores, right? I mean, we put these cores in for a good reason, and we can using them to accelerate certain workloads. And there's so many great things you can do with AI. And we talked about it earlier. I'm using here the new broadcast feature for my webcam. So when I turn that off, you see you're now in my office back home, because we're still working at home at Nvidia. And so this is live now today as well, and it's usable for any RTX user. Let's see. No.
You also have the oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So
you can use videos or background removal. It works really well. You can put videos on. You can use different images. So it's really, really, really nice, and it's working much better, especially on the chair when I move it over here, than many other solutions. And it's also using the Tensor cores, and it's using the Tensor cores because you can also use it when you play a game, and to stream it in combination with a GeForce Experience and stream it just to the web, and then have your virtual screen running.
Yeah.
And that's why we're using the Tensor cores to accelerate all of that. We have background noise removal as well.
I just wish you guys would have done this like 2 years earlier, before we had to build our green screen studio.
Yeah,
would have saved us a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. This is meant for the gamer, right?
Yeah,
so every GeForce gamer can do this, and for you, when you have a professional studio with a professional green screen, you can do more than that. So it's not meant for the professionals. Of course, we're getting a lot of requests already saying, "Oh, this is just amazing," and we want to have this as well. And right now, many people know what you can do with stuff in Zoom meetings or other players.
Everybody's working from home, and that's the thing. It's really it's also nice if you just want to hide. You know, if you're in a messy house or whatever, or even you have the sound mute option as well, that you can like mute out the sound around you. Especially if you're working from home and you have children or something, sometimes that can actually be quite nice to be able to do.
Yeah. So everybody can try it. It's on our website now.
Yeah, it's live today, right?
Sorry?
It's live also today, just now, right?
It's live. I checked it before. It's live,
yeah,
and all you need is the current driver and an RTX 20 series card, 2060 upwards.
Yeah.
And you can give it a try.
Anything with tensor cores, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And it's and I know we had a beta and it was working with other GPUs too. And of course, technically you could run it on the CUDA cores. Yes. But that would mean in a GPU load of 30-40% sometimes, especially with so this is the start. We're adding more features to the software stack. Yeah. And using the Tensor cores, we're getting a minor GPU load with this, and then we can run it on top of everything else.
Exactly. So if you are gaming and streaming at the same time and wanting to use this feature, then it does make sense to use it on a card with Tensor Core, so either RTX 20 series cards or RTX 30. Yeah. But you could potentially probably then use it on a GTX 1080 or something, but it would mean a much bigger performance hit because it uses the same cores as the game. Yeah. So yeah. All right, very nice. That memory then. Let's also talk about that a little bit, because we skipped over the slides.
Yes.
But because also that's a big leap, right? I mean, I don't know for people who are not technically oriented or something, but this is like also a very clever way that they found, or that you guys found together with Micron, if I'm not mistaken. Of using the available space in a more optimized way in multiple channels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, signaling improvement, right?
Yeah. Yeah, PM4 signaling it's what it's called. Yeah. And so we were working closely with Micron on that one, and so pretty much we can transfer much more data at a much faster rate. And long story short, it's the fastest memory on the market that you can get right now. Yeah. So, and it brings the whole memory bandwidth up, and that's another reason why Ampere is so much faster, 3080, over the previous generation. I mean, we're always improving the memory performance where we can with each generation, and that's also very important to keep everything balanced. So we have to come up with some ideas and. Like with everything we do, we're driving things forward. Yeah. So we're never standing still. If something doesn't work or doesn't exist, we're not waiting for anybody else to innovate it and bring it to market. If nobody else is doing it, we're doing it. If we think it makes sense. And so we're doing a lot of experiments. I mean, we have this 12-pin connector on our Founders Edition. That's something we have to see if it's getting adopted or not. Yeah. It made sense for us there, and then we see how the market reacts. Yeah. And it's either getting adopted or not, but you have to try, right? You don't have to.
Well, that's the only way you find out and innovate, right? That's indeed just to make it happen and test it and see if it works and improve.
Yeah. And sometimes you make mistakes, or sometimes the market is not ready. Yeah. It's like with the USB-C connector that we put on the Turing cards in the beginning.
Virtual link, right?
Virtual link, and it didn't take off. I mean, We put it in, and I mean, it's still an awesome phone charger for USB-C.
Yeah,
But on your graphics card.
But you need to take account the power target on your GPU. So the power that you would get over the connector, that wattage needs to be calculated into your whole board design as max power. It goes into your power target as well. But no, there were no headsets using it, right? And in the end, if the market doesn't adopt it, then okay.
There's no point. Well, maybe there is a point in trying to develop it further, but sometimes it's just better to focus on other things. And in this case, like the memory is also again a big leap. So I guess it just adds to everything in the Ampere architecture. Let's see. Oh yeah, then because I know we have limited time. You told me working from home, so you need to go and catch your kid, or
I need to pick up the kids
exactly.
soon. Yeah.
So we'll keep it short. But some of the things. I mean, we already touched on DLSS, of course, and that improved massively. Is there anything even still further possible in DLSS? Do you think we can? Are you still working on improving it even further than what it currently is?
Yes, a lot. I mean, we're putting a lot of work into DLSS. Well, the first thing we changed right now is 8K support. So 8K displays are coming, and that is pretty much 4 times 4K resolution or 16 times 1080p.
Wow.
And that's especially interesting for the 3090, where you need such a beast of a GPU to run that. And DLSS helps there to run that even with ray tracing and everything. And you have much, much more pixels that you can use then to generate that high resolution image. And then we think, we have some ideas that we didn't announce yet on DLSS. So there's stuff coming, definitely. And then there's other future stuff coming that we announced, like RTX IO. That's going to be very interesting for GeForce users and PC gamers in general. So, because...
But for DLSS, I mean, we're currently at version 2.0, and we can expect to see other versions in the future. It's just getting started, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we are still optimizing it, and I mean, you can see here on that slide where you see on the right side, you see some numbers and some logos and text that is not visible on native 4K. And native 4K is pretty good. And but since we use the many frames to generate that final image, we have much more pixel info, and we can make it a lot sharper, much more detailed, even on the floor, on the ground, in front of you. But there's some corner cases where you still sometimes get some artifacts. You had some fences in Wolfenstein Youngblood that were not perfect. So we're making it more perfect. That is one thing, because we want to have it perfect, and working on the performance side as well, optimizing it, training the network with new stuff. And then working on some other ideas that we might talk at one point in the future. So really
no secrets yet that you can share?
No.
All right, and the last thing indeed we want to touch on a little bit is the RTX IO. It's something that unfortunately I think is going to take a while that we actually see it in games. But the idea is really massive. It should make a massive difference in the loading time of things like textures and games. It's a bit more. Should be a bit further along the slides, Peter. Yes.
Found it.
Okay. I mean, RTX IO, that's addressing many problems. One of the problems you have right now, or there's 2 major problems. One is data size of games, and you already have a game like Call of Duty that is 160, 170 gigabytes. Flight Simulator is 200 gigabytes, and you need to download that, and you need to transfer that data into your system memory from your drive, from your SSDs. And so there's one thing where one solution that game developers take, they use lossless compression for all their assets. Meaning, think of it like everything is stored in a zip file with a 2.1 compression, and then you transfer that zip file from your drive, meaning the data, into your CPU, and then you uncompress it. Then you have the data uncompressed, and then you transfer it to the GPU to execute it. And the problem with that is the drives are getting faster and faster, and you already have these 7 gigabytes per second drives on the latest generation SSDs, and to do that, to do the decompression, you need CPU cycles.
Yes.
And just transferring an uncompressed file at 7 gigabytes per second, it's eating up 2 of your CPU cores.
Yeah.
Just I/O operation. If you have a compressed file, you load it super fast with your new super fast SSD, and now you need to decompress it in real time on your CPU.
Yeah.
And we did the test, and at this data rate of 7 gigabytes per second, you need a Threadripper with 24 cores, and all 24 cores are fully loaded just to decompress the data. And that is not getting you anywhere because you're running a game, right? You're not idling on your desktop. Then you say, okay, I have all these CPU cores. I can finally put them to use. But you're running a game. You need the cores to run your game, and you need that data.
Whoever thought that a Threadripper with so many cores would come up short at some time?
Yeah. You need a 32 core.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is real time. Everybody knows how long it takes to unzip a file at some point.
But it needs to happen instantaneously.
It's different algorithms. So it's the solution for the game developers makes sense. Downloads are half the size, transfer rate is higher, especially because you have a compressed file. And the new consoles are using some kind of this technology too. So this is something that's coming in the future. But you don't want to waste your CPU for doing that.
No.
And now we came up with RTX IO. We're working with Microsoft on direct storage. So we approached Microsoft with our ideas, and they love it. They will bring it to Windows to include it. And then what you're doing right now is we have direct access to the storage. It's being transferred to the GPU. And now the GPU can do the decompression directly into GPU memory. And think of it like we're not, didn't really announce performance numbers, but it's maybe a 1%-ish performance decrease by doing that on the GPU. So the GPU can do that really, really super fast. And pretty much the algorithms, compression algorithm, they are compatible with everything else. There's some developer integration that is needed to do that in combination with direct storage as well, but pretty much anyone will do that. So that's becoming a new standard.
So basically you bypass the CPU and go directly to the GPU, as it says on showed on the picture as well. And as you said, so instead of the CPU, which would be pretty much fully booked, just doing those tasks, the GPU can do it at just the cost of 1, maybe 2% usage.
Exactly, and you have maybe half a core that on the CPU that is just for some housekeeping I/O work that you need to do, and but otherwise you would have the bottleneck. Your storage devices are getting faster and faster, and by going over the CPU, your CPU at the faster the data rate, the more busy your CPU becomes. The faster the CPU has to be, the more cores you need for that on the CPU, and that will throttle down your game performance at one point. So that's not getting you anywhere. So you can only benefit from your fast drive when your whole system can pretty much process the data instantaneously. Otherwise, it doesn't. There's no point. Super loading time, and then you need to wait a couple of seconds to process the data. No,
it's like the famous elevator rides in between levels, right? That you level for the elevator for the level to load.
For some the elevator rides are a bit longer than for others.
Yeah, exactly.
But this takes some time, so it needs to be integrated into Windows, as you can think of, because it's pretty much changing the way data is being handled, hardware is being accessed. But that will be available on Turing and Ampere GPUs.
So this will be something like in a DirectX package, or what will it be?
Yeah, I think it will just come with one of the future Windows updates. Right. So it will be a standard Windows 10 feature, or whatever that Windows version is being called. So that's being made available for developers at some point, I think later this year or early next year, where everybody can start developing. And then I think at one point people can already try it out. And so, but it's coming. I mean, and you can think of use cases where you have lots of data streaming into the GPU. Think of it like flying, instead of having an LOD cap that you need to do, not because of the GPU processing, but of the data. Like if you had Flight Simulator right now and you would fly very fast over in Mach 2 at very low altitude, at some point you need to get the data in. And you can think of pretty fancy stuff that can be done in games by just using that high data streaming feature.
And is this something that, I mean, one of my last questions, but is this something that you could, you have to do, like make a game completely new, program it completely from the ground up to use this, or is this something that existing games could also use at some point?
Yeah, it's just the way, I mean, there's different compression algorithms that game developers are using right now, and that depends on the platform. So there's some Windows, Xbox, PlayStation, they're using different ones. Like, think of it simply said, like there's WinZip, there's WinRAR, there's other compression types. And so what we are doing that is pretty much compatible with everything else. And so there's I think we will publish some data of that in some SDKs on our developer pages. So it's nothing really changes what game developers are doing. So they could patch older versions of the games, and in future games it will just work because it's just one more subset of the same thing they were doing before. And so there's no penalty, or it doesn't hurt them to do it. So I think it will be used everywhere because the benefit is just huge.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Yeah. I think that pretty much covers it. I know that you said you don't have that much more time, so we'll keep it. Keep it at this. Thank you very much for joining, Lars. It was great to have you on again. Maybe in a future stream, we will check. Maybe we can have you on again because there's so much to discuss always, so much to show. Maybe we can even do a dedicated. I don't know. Maybe I can ask the chat, but maybe you guys would like to see like a dedicated stream at some point to cover more of the Nvidia things. We haven't touched on a lot of things like reflex, and there's a multitude of things that we haven't even touched on. But yeah, thank you for joining for now, and hopefully we'll see you again in another stream.
Thank you.
Yes, I hope so too.
All right.
Have a great time on the stream, and look forward for next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lars.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers.
All right. So it's obviously it's in such a short time it's hard to cover all the things in great detail. But it's always interesting to hear from the guys who actually worked to make and develop these things on Nvidia, and also do a lot of I mean, you don't want to call it tech support, but it's I guess kind of what it comes down to for customers, as in probably game developers or stuff like that that Lars helps on. If they run into any issues, so he will also be aware of any of the issues they run into. All right, so I read that there were some complaints that people said it's okay, Nvidia story, we want to see products. And I get that.
Yeah, we got products.
So let's do that. But before we do that, let's do a giveaway. I think that's also one of the things you guys like, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about giveaways. Everybody wants a giveaway.
It's always.
What are we giving away today? Not graphics cards, right?
No.
We keep that.
Yeah, exactly. We are giving away $20 Steam wallet codes, as you can see in the bottom right there. So you can go to msi.com/2/insider, or I don't know if the link is being published in the chat. I hope so. Let's see, and then in the meantime I will draw a first winner for today. And I'm doing this through a script as always, so it's just going to randomly select a winner. Just waiting, there's a lot of contestants. Rick Ops, the first winner is Rick Ops, congratulations. We'll get the Steam code out to you as soon as possible. We've got more codes to give away, so definitely make sure you register for the giveaway, and once you're registered you only have to do it once per stream, then you're set. So during the stream you have a chance to win, you don't have to do it again. And yeah, later on we'll draw more winners. Yep. So then...
People want to see graphics cards.
People want to see graphics cards. Well, it just so happens, I think, that we have them.
We've got a graphics card, we've got one here.
Yeah.
We've got one here.
So do you want to quickly go through what we've got on the table here? Because there's one here that's I always really loved. That one's dear to my heart.
This one.
Yeah, it's really iconic. The black and red one, or red and black. That I believe is the 1080 Gaming X, right?
Yeah, correct. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's more here.
Yes.
This was a top model.
Yes.
Like how long ago?
Was it 2016? I think it launched.
I think so too.
From the top of my head.
Already 4 years ago.
Yes.
Maybe even earlier.
I think it was May or June 2016.
Yeah, but it's a really, really nice card. Really good. It was a big improvement over a 900 series.
So yeah, that was the Pascal. So that's already what Lars just mentioned as well. The Pascal following the Maxwell.
Yep.
So the 10 series following the 900 series. Big jump indeed. And then we had the card to your to the left on the screen. That's just right there. That is the 2080 Gaming X Trio. So there you can already see we went to triple fans on that one.
It's a bit bigger. No, it's actually much bigger.
It is, yeah.
It's also much heavier. This is now considered a light card. It's only, I don't know, what was it, 1 kilogram or so?
Something like that.
And this is like 1.3 kilograms. It's like huge already.
Yeah.
3 fans.
Can you compare them maybe on the close? I'll see if we can switch to the close-up cam. See if we can.
You want to?
Yeah, see if we can. Yeah, exactly. So the one indeed, the 1080 was a 2-slot, a dual slot, and then the 2080 was already for all intents and purposes a triple slot card. It's probably 2.7 if you want to be exact about it, but it pretty much takes 3 slots. That's it.
So from 1080 to 2080.
Yeah.
And there's a new card launched now.
Yes.
Yes.
And a new card. Well, I mean, I would say indeed pick it up. That's the Ventus variant, the Ventus model.
Yeah, the other one is on here. So
yes, we cannot pick it up right now. We will do it after we do some benchmarks. But of course, you guys want to see some performance, some benchmarks. So that's what we're going to do first for the gaming card. For now, I'll see. Here we go. Yeah, the Ventus. Yeah. I think also that one turned out beautifully.
Yeah.
I mean,
for
last generation
system, it's
the
really
first
nice.
generation Ventus on the 20 series was already quite popular and was a very nice design. It's the MSRP. I mean, you wouldn't say it if you look at it, but it's actually the more entry-level model of our card. So it should be the more affordable one from our product stack. But yeah, I mean, it's just really nice, and it really focuses on the essentials. So you won't find things like RGB lighting on there or stuff like that. It's really about offering a good solid card with good solid performance and good solid cooling.
Indeed. It's a really nice card.
Yes.
But we've got a better card.
Yeah.
And that's here.
There's no denying it.
Because it has RGB.
Exactly, and that's the thing that makes it go faster, as we all know.
Indeed. But only if you set it to red. If you set it to red, it will go faster.
That's
blue,
it's like a cheat code. I mean, people need to find that out for themselves. Don't tell them everything yet.
Oh yeah. So.
But yeah, red lights means
red is faster, blue is cooler. Oh, is it? No.
Probably.
But you need to set your whole system then to blue.
Or to red.
Or to red, whatever you prefer. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Let's see. So shall we just go ahead with some benchmarks first then? Because I think that's what most people are jumping
yeah, we could do
to
that.
see.
Let's see.
So I'll see if I have some.
Let's see.
Here we go. We've got some capture going on. So this is Peter's test platform. Can you tell the chat a little bit about what's on the platform? And I'll go back to the main view. Here we go.
It's not the latest and greatest, but it was the latest and greatest last generation. It's a Z370 godlike motherboard. So it's a really nice motherboard. There's also a successor to that with a i7 9700K on there.
Right. I think this is a setup, especially that CPU is something that I think a lot of gamers will be using.
I think so. It was quite a popular CPU.
Yeah.
It's in gaming as fast as a 9900K. In rendering not as fast, but it was still a very nice CPU for gaming.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it still is actually. It's not old.
No.
Although it's already a year older. I think so.
Something like that. Yeah.
But still a very capable CPU.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that for a lot of the tech reviews, we also saw everybody was using, I think, even AMD platforms, and the Radeon graphics cards, the Ryzen, the Ryzen 9. Of course, the highest end one. I don't
that was also
say,
an option. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want to go for that, and we'll show you that later on as well, because I know that PCIe 4 is a thing that the new cards support.
The card does support PCI Express 4.0.
Yeah.
This motherboard does not. It does supports PCI Express 3.0,
yes.
But they are both backwards compatible and are no issue in compatibility.
No, exactly. And later on, you will also see that there is a reason why we didn't choose the PCIe 4.0 for the benchmarks here. Spoiler alert, it doesn't make a difference that much. You won't notice it in game.
Not for the 3080, no.
No, at least, no, yeah, exactly. Not on a 3080.
3090? Right. Maybe.
Yeah,
haven't tested it yet. It's not out yet, so.
Yeah. So the GPU itself, we will show you guys in a bit, because then Peter needs to rip it off the motherboard. But before we do that, obviously we want to get all the tests done.
Can you do the close-up cam again?
Yes,
so
of course. As I see people asking, can we see the GPU? We want to see it a bit more, a bit better. Well, here you go. There's at least a more close-up view of it. Yeah, very nice LED indeed on the side and on the front. Ooh.
Triple fan.
Yes.
Also triple connector.
Yes, triple 8 pins.
Yes.
So a lot of power, which we will come back to. And a very nice backplate as well.
A very nice backplate, yes.
Yeah, we were joking that the back of the GPU, maybe can you point your finger a little bit, like above it, that it looked almost like a face.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here. Yeah, like a little.
Yeah, it looks like a face. Somebody commented about that. Yes.
Yeah, like a little robot face or something. Anyway.
Yeah, it's also on the same face is also on the Ventus. So.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
Like
it's the same GPU, so
you need to be far away, then it looks like a face. So.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So you're welcome.
So we got a smiley card.
What else is in the system that you can point to? Like the RAM memory, for example.
Oh yeah, we got. Oh, here it is. 2 times Corsair, 8 gigabytes.
So it's 16 in total?
16 in total, 3200 megahertz.
Yeah.
So it's not super high end, it's very mainstream. Actually, the plan was built a mainstream gaming rig with a high end graphics card.
Yes. Yeah. So what if you have a pretty decent gaming rig?
It's let's decent say, gaming rig, yes.
and you upgraded the graphics card. That was kind of the scenario we're going for.
Yep.
And also, I think for storage, I mean, in a lot of cases these days, I mean, Lars mentioned, M.2s are reaching blisteringly high speeds. You are using none of that.
No. I'm using
let's see.
old school SATA drives.
SATA, yeah.
No, old
SATA
school.
SSD.
It's not a real
It's an SSD.
It's an SSD though,
yes.
yeah.
So but it's not an M.2.
It's still for gaming. Loading times is not a huge difference yet, but
not
maybe
yet, no,
with GeForce IO, yeah. Then
yes, then you will probably
might make a big difference.
Exactly. Yeah. Then it will no longer be like, yeah, you can upgrade the storage, but you probably won't notice it in games.
Indeed.
So let's hope, because the thing is, it's pretty nice. We have the storage, we have the fast storage, so why not if we can enjoy it in games?
Yep.
All right, and I think one of the special mentions is the power supply.
Oh yes.
Yes. So we have a very special power supply here, one of our very own. If you don't know about it yet, MSI recently announced a line of power supplies that we are going to, or I don't know if they're already available. Not sure. Do close about.
Oh, yep. Do it like this.
Maybe not the best view. Yes. So this one is actually the MPG A750 GF. 750, of course, because it's 750 watts. Which is also not by accident, but it's also the recommended power supply that Nvidia recommends for the 3080.
Yeah, 750 watts, yes, because they draw quite some power, the graphics cards.
Yes, well, compared to last generation, compared to previous generations.
Previous generation, yes.
And that's also one of the reasons why you saw Peter holding up the red and black card, the 1080 earlier, and compare it to, for example, the 2080 that was there and the 3080 Ventus that was next to it, yeah. And there's a reason why the cards are much bigger this generation and have thicker heat sinks, because indeed the power usage, potential power usage, we should say, is a bit higher than previous generations.
Yeah, I think the 2080. What was the power limit on that, or power usage? I think it was around 240
230,
watts.
240, something like that?
Yeah, around there. And the Ventus is 320 watts, so it's quite a lot more.
Quite significantly, and that of course, that power usage, it's nice because that means it translates also into more performance, as we saw earlier with Lars. But of course, that needs to be cooled. Because it translates into heat once you start gaming or doing anything on the GPU and start loading it. So that needs to be cooled, and so we're doing that, of course, with a nice, very thick heatsink and triple fans.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot thicker if you compare it to like a 1080.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can clearly see. Maybe we can in the close-up cam. There you go. So that is the 1080 gaming on the left and the 3080 VENTUS on the right. So also the VENTUS, I think it's from top of my head also at 2.7 slots or 3 slots pretty much.
Yeah. It fits in at 3 slots. It takes up about 2.7 slots.
Yeah.
So it takes up quite some space, but it doesn't matter because most people will only run one graphics card. Actually,
you can show it.
You can only run one graphics card for gaming because it has no NVLink.
Yes,
anymore.
At least for the 3080, indeed, it doesn't have any NVLink, or as many people will still know it, SLI. So it cannot do SLI. But that's fine. I mean, I think one single card has enough tricks and power up its sleeve for now.
Yeah, and not a lot of games support SLI anymore, so there's not a real benefit for it.
Yeah, exactly. All right then, I think enough talk.
Benchmarks?
Let's benchmark.
What do you want?
Let's start with some synthetics.
3D mark.
Yes.
Sounds right.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, let's start it up. So again, guys, we just downloaded the drivers. We were not able to do the tests previously. We did do these tests with older drivers on both the 1080 and 2080 for the sake of comparison. I have the numbers here on my different laptop. I don't have them on the screen, sadly, but it's just so that we can get some kind of frame of reference.
Yeah. The driver we have is...
Oh yeah, here you can see it?
Yeah, 456.38.
Yes.
It's this part of...
Driver date, does that say 14?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, they had the driver already ready 3 days ago.
Well, that's not surprising. They had it ready. All right. Anyway, so there's the proof. You can see it. We are going to be, by the way, benchmarking all the way in 4K.
Yeah,
because,
it's a 4K monitor.
Yeah, because also, I mean, a couple of reasons. We'll show you in a little bit in the slides as well. But we have some slides from media reviews and stuff like that. There you can clearly see at 1080p, it becomes more of a CPU competition, I guess. And especially because we don't have the highest end CPU in there, that would result in lower scores, which really has nothing to do with the card.
No.
So we will be benchmarking in 4K, which means that...
Even with the best CPU, it's still in full HD, you're bottlenecked by the CPU.
Yes, well, it depends, but in some games, indeed, you will run into that. Anyway, so 4K, also because, well, pretty much the 3080 is targeted at 4K gaming, so it makes sense that we focus on the 4K segment.
So 4K, yes, Time Spy Extreme looks like a good one.
Yes, let's do that one.
Let's run that one.
All right, so just for reference, guys, you can start it up already. You of course, you get a complete score because correct me if I'm wrong. There's 2 GPU tests as a run, as a part of the run of the benchmark, and 1 CPU test. Right?
Yeah, correct.
Yes. So the total score you get is, of course, also taking into account the CPU. So as a result, we are going to be, of course, focusing on the GPU score, because that only takes into account the score of the GPU itself. We can, for the sake of comparison, include the total score. Of course, you will see it on the screen when it's done. But yeah, I mean, again, that's more down to, or it will be.
There's more full system score. So
so if you would indeed use an i9 10, what is the name these days? 10 101 101 I don't know. That one, K, overclocked. Yeah, you would get a much higher score.
Even with AMDs.
Yeah, same story indeed with the AMD, with the Ryzen 9. You would also get a much higher score. Again, we're going to be focusing on the graphics card score, pretty much. I'm seeing questions. 4K with 10 gigs of VRAM? Yes.
Why not?
Yeah,
Easy.
it's. Yeah, I mean, I know it sounds like it's not that much, but 10 gigs is still a hell of a lot. And I can pretty much tell you, not many games will be will draw all that memory in, pretty much. And also, you need to remember, it's fast memory. It's faster than before, so that means it's the game doesn't need to use quite as much to get the same thing done, or at least it's not in use for the same amount of time.
Yeah. I don't know if you can read the FPS in the stream, but it's now around 60 FPS, 61, 62.
And it's 4K, guys.
That's 4K. 4K.
No DLSS, because
no, it's not.
That doesn't work in 3D Mark, as far as we know.
No, it's not allowed in 3D Mark.
Because again, that would be kind of like cheating.
That is cheating, and 3D Mark is a performance benchmark. So
yes. Yeah. What is the point if no one can buy one? Well, it's like this with every new generation.
Yes.
It takes a bit of time before it hits all the stores. Trust me when I say it's shipping already. And I mean, the whole global pandemic thing isn't helping things either. So, extra care is being taken to make sure, and logistics cannot be done working from home mostly. So it has to be done physically.
Yeah, there needs to be a truck driver to bring it to the store. Yeah,
things like that. Yeah, and it has to be physically received into warehouses and stuff like that. So it's all a bit delayed at several points. I mean, I get it. I would really love to have all these cards in the shops right now, like millions of them. But unfortunately, that's not possible.
That's the same at every big launch. It's always there are maybe a few cards, but they're sold out in minutes. Yeah, and then you have to wait a week or maybe 2 weeks. But
I'm seeing a lot of people asking this question. I think you are a perfect person to answer this, perhaps. Would a Ryzen 5 3600 be okay to use with this card, or would it bottleneck the 3080?
On Full HD, yes, it will bottleneck. But on 4K, Ryzen 5 will be more than enough.
But then, I mean...
But it depends a bit on the game.
Yeah, and you say at Full HD it might bottleneck, but then you're talking about it has to run hundreds of FPS.
It still will run a lot of FPS. Yes. But it also depends on the game. Of course, you've got different kinds of games. Strategy games are more limited by CPU and not by GPU, so there's no really need for, maybe not for a 3080. No. But
also competitive games like Counter-Strike, right? Those ones at Full HD, for example, they won't really benefit from a 3080 over a.
Not as much. You also need a really fast CPU, at least for a good single-core performance. Yes. Yeah. But then you get hundreds of FPS, like 300 or 400 of FPS. So
I mean, if you're getting bottlenecked at 300 FPS, do you really care? Then you could have had 400. I mean, maybe. Yeah. But would you notice it? Debatable.
Maybe some people are that good.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So it's really up to you. Again, we're just giving you the information, and then it's up to you to make an i5 10600 bottleneck this card.
Actually, it's similar
Probably,
answer. Yeah. I saw an i7 8700K. On Full HD, probably yes. Faster CPU will you will get more FPS.
Yeah. But only in very specific situations.
Yes. So but then you already get a lot of FPS. So it's not really a bottleneck. Yes, maybe the limiting factor is your CPU. Yeah. But still, it's a big improvement over maybe your current graphics card.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, for example, using or playing Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, or Red Dead Redemption, whatever, a very graphics-intensive game, even on Full HD, it will probably not even bottleneck it.
So the higher resolution you use, the less of an impact your CPU is.
Yes. Yeah. All right, so here we have it.
The score.
Yes, a score. Maybe if you want, because I do want to see if we can get it on the screen. Can you open like a notepad or something, or so maybe we can still, because you did. I want to say but you did tests yesterday as well on the 1080 and the 2080.
Yeah, actually this morning.
Oh, this morning. Yeah, okay. So that we actually had, because a score is nice, but I mean, what does it mean when you cannot compare it directly to other cards? Mm-hmm. So I will read up the scores that you sent to me this morning. And let's see. Let's start with the direct GPU, the GPU only score.
Yep.
For the 1080.
For the 1080, yeah.
Yes, that was 3412.
3412.
Yes. Yes.
And now he's having a graphics. That's his graphics score, right?
Yes, this is only graphics score.
That's the little number. Not the big number in the circle, but to the left, just left of where now it says 1080.
I don't see any number there. So
that's 8,479. I can write it down.
All right, that's anyway.
3080.
I don't see it. Maybe my file is incomplete here, or maybe I just took the numbers that I thought were relevant. That's okay.
Is it? Oh.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
That number.
I did see that one. I thought you were meaning in the file, but that's fine.
No, probably in the file the number could be a bit high because now we're streaming. And,
yeah, it is actually.
Yeah?
But let's first do the 2080 for comparison.
Oh, 2080.
2080, the graphics score was 5110. 5110.
Yeah, I think the 3080 was scoring a bit higher this
Above
morning.
9,000 actually. It's over 9,000. It was over 9,000.
Over 9,000.
Exactly, yeah, the meme. It was 9,176. Yes.
So 9,100?
9,176, so 9176. That was without streaming. So, and streaming, I mean, to be fair, we're using NDI, which is a kind of a capturing protocol, and that is rendering over the GPU. So that's why
that takes up quite some power.
Yeah, it has.
In this case, about 10% almost.
Yeah,
so
yeah, significant. Yeah, but still.
So all the scores you see here now today are a bit on the low side.
Are at least impacted with streaming a little bit. We wanted to do direct capturing. If you watch our streams in the past, you might know that we also do HDMI capturing. We have a capture card. However, that of course would not allow us, because that is limited at 1080p, 60 FPS. So that would not allow us to do the benchmarks at 4K. So at least, well, these ones maybe it would, but because you can render it at a higher resolution. But especially the games, then you would run into trouble because you can only do it at the resolution that the screen allows. So that's why we had to do the NDI to give you 4K.
Yeah, actually, you can 3D Mark. You can do it without a 4K screen, but we also want to show you some benchmarks in games, and then you need actually the 4K display.
Exactly. So that's why we wanted to show you that. All right. And then I mean, do you want to highlight the total system score?
Yeah, it
was a little bit closer, but also it's impacted by the fact that we are now also streaming from your benchmark rig.
Yeah, and it's also impacted by the CPU we use. So if you use a different CPU, the graphics score is almost identical. It's not affected by the CPU, but the total score will be affected a lot by the
but as you
CPU.
can see, I mean, just in the synthetic benchmark here, going from a 1080 to a 2080, it's a pretty nice jump. It's I don't know, I'm not good at like math in my head, but I would say, I don't know, like 30%?
From 5,000 to 9,000?
No, the 1080 to the 2080.
Oh, 1080 is that's
30-ish%, a bit more, 40?
A lot more.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah.
50%.
Oh, there you go.
I would give it 50%.
All right. 50%. 5 out of 10. All right. Anyway, quick maths. And then indeed, going from the 2080 to the 3080, I mean, that is a huge jump.
Yes, that is more. That's like 70%, 75%.
Yeah. So indeed, if you say 1.7 times faster or somewhere thereabouts, that will be accurate.
Yeah. Nvidia claims 1.9 times faster. Probably they found a benchmark where they could find the 1.9. Yeah, they set the control, was it?
Yeah, the game indeed. And but I think that was without DLSS even. So anyway, but yeah, impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, it's a big step forward, especially if you got like the older. It's not really old, but the older 1080.
Yes.
You get almost 3 times the performance.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah.
There you go.
That's a big step.
All right. Then I mean, let's do a benchmark the Port Royal. So that one is ray tracing specific.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to do the comparable benchmarks on the other card. So we'll just have to make do with the Port Royal score that we get here. And of course, again, it will be a bit impacted by the fact that we're streaming.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So your score will in the end be a bit higher than ours, which is pretty much only a good case scenario, because that means that our score will always be on the low side for you.
True.
Maybe we can do a giveaway in the meantime as well, because it takes a little while.
Yeah, the system info always takes some time on that.
Edwin is asking, are the blades of the graphics card replaceable? I'm guessing you mean the fans? Technically, yes, but we don't recommend it.
No, yeah, and yeah, we don't sell those.
We don't sell them separately, indeed. I mean, you could ghetto mod it if you want, but again, that's not recommended and not covered by warranty either.
No, but they won't break. They shouldn't break.
Yeah, they've got double ball
unless
bearings.
you do something wrong with it, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't drop the cards. It's not that good for it.
That's not cool. No.
No.
If you get one of these, don't drop it. Please don't go Linus on it. Don't do it.
Oh yeah, indeed.
Let's see. Any other questions, guys? What's the power limit on the X3? I think we'll get to that later on this stream when we cover a bit more of the media reviews that we saw. Give me stuff. You can win stuff in a minute. Will a 6700K bottleneck at 1440p Ultra with a 3080? Wow, that's specific.
I don't think so.
I think the safe answer here is always it depends on the scenario. It depends on what game.
That's a safe answer, but it's not what people want to hear.
No, it isn't. They want to hear a clear yes or no, but
yes.
It's usually not that simple.
It depends on your game. It depends on the rest of your system. It depends on the resolution. But overall, a high resolution, there's less bottlenecking of CPUs.
Yeah. Will it run well with the 3900 XT?
It's a bit of a cheap CPU, right?
I don't know. I think so. Again, it depends. It really depends on what you want to play with it. It's really simple in the end. If you have a lower end CPU, for example, and you want a game at really high FPS, you're probably going to run into bottlenecks regardless of the GPU, pretty much, at above a certain point. But if you want to run graphics-intensive games at high-ish resolutions, anywhere up from 1440p to 4K, for example, and you have more graphically intensive games, say Red Dead Redemption, Horizon Zero Dawn,
Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed, indeed, all the upcoming games as well, probably. What was it? Cyberpunk. How could I forget that? Watch Dogs Legion, the new upcoming game from indeed Assassin's Creed. If you want to play those games and you have a let's say mid-tier CPU, like a Ryzen 5 or an i5 or something like that, if it's not like 6 years old or something, you'll probably be fine. Because it's more GPU oriented, and then the GPU will be pulling its weight, and CPU is not that stressed. But if you go into more competitive titles and you go for the really high FPS, I mean, then it's really up to you. And nobody only plays one game realistically. So you're going to be playing a mix of games, obviously, but you just have to think about what is your mainstay, what do you value most, I guess. Do you really want to enjoy those high fidelity graphics in Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, and in all the ray tracing that's coming up in all the games that are still to launch? Then I think you should be fine with just upgrading your GPU, and maybe even at 1080p, some of those titles might, not bottleneck at all in your CPU.
No, maybe not, but it really depends on the scenario.
It does, yeah. That's why it's difficult to give, unless the question is really specific, like this resolution, this game, this specific setup.
Oh, watch out, because they will ask.
I know, yeah, they will start doing that. But the thing is that, only then can you really say a yes or no.
Yes.
But other than that, it's really difficult.
True. Port Royal.
Yeah, there we go. So we got a score. Actually, over 10,000.
Over 10,000.
Wow.
The graphics test is 49.79 FPS. So that's.
Yeah. Let me quickly just look up what a typical 2080 would score on Port Royal. I think you can just Google that, right?
Yeah,
is that legit? Can I do that?
Google knows.
Yeah.
Well, your head is off the screen now.
I know.
I know.
Let's see.
I see somebody already got a gaming X3O. Nice.
Ooh, that is indeed very nice. Let's see.
Yeah, overall, a mid-tier CPU like i5s and up, you should be good with this card. i3s, could work, but most people don't buy an i3 CPU for gaming.
No. It's difficult to judge because I'm only seeing. Oh, here we go. Okay, so 2080 Founders Edition in Port Royal benchmarking score got a just above 6,000 score.
Just about, okay, and now we're over 10,000.
Yeah. So yeah, now
it's
it's like 11,000 pretty much. And again, it's pretty much hampered a little bit by the fact that we're streaming from this card as well.
But
so probably somewhere more near 12,000 or 1150.
So that's the 1.9 times performance increase.
Yeah, yeah.
So Nvidia wasn't lying. Only you need to find a specific task to benchmark it with or to show it with.
Honestly, you should expect that because of course they are going to show the card in one of the better scenarios. That's what you do. I mean, if you make a product, you're not going to say, well, you know, this is the worst case.
Yeah, could be better.
I mean, nobody's going to get excited about that. So it makes sense. It's just that, you know, people tend to get hung up a bit on those numbers.
Yeah, that's marketing. That's marketing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful trade, isn't it?
I don't know.
All right. Can you confirm boost clocks in 1815 megahertz? I think we can get to that. Let's see. Because do you think it would be interesting to pull up something like Afterburner?
No, yeah, I can. Yeah,
maybe. Because people are asking about, you know, boost clocks and what is it doing. Because maybe during the next test, Afterburner also keeps like a log or something, so you can after that or a real-time hardware monitor. So, for example, things like clock speeds, you can actually look back after you do benchmark to see what the clock speed was.
But I think he wants to know the boost clock, and that you can see with GPU-Z.
Oh yeah.
So you don't need to.
I thought maybe he meant like the actual boost clock, as in the clock that it boosted to in the game. But yeah.
That depends. The boost clock itself is indeed 1850 megahertz, and that's now shown in GPU-Z.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if the text is really small on your screen, but it's showing. No, my mouse is not showing on the screen.
But I mean, for me, those are usually a bit like arbitrary numbers. Because as you will see in some of the upcoming benchmarks, the actual GPU clocks should be higher on most cards.
We could show it.
Yes. So I'd say just let's do that.
Shall I? I'll do it like this, like.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot of really cool tools. If you guys want to know more about that, let us know on how to keep track indeed of system data in real time, temperatures, voltages, clock speeds, pretty much everything.
Let's see, we got a temperature.
Yes.
No, it's idle, so it says 34 degrees.
34.
So that is not hot.
No, that's not hot. And the fans, are they spinning?
Nope.
Can we do a close-up just quickly?
So
people
of course
can actually
we can.
see that. Because this guys is not a broken card. It's zero frozer. That's what zero frozer does. Below a certain temperature point, if the card is idle like it is now, the fans will just stop spinning completely. So, yeah. I mean, it's been a feature for many generations already. So you kind of should know it if you're familiar with our cards. And we hope you know it. Also, I think pretty much everybody is using this in one form or another. For at least this generation, but I think previous generations as well.
Let's see.
Is a 650 watt power supply fine? You could probably get away with it, but I mean they recommend 750 for a reason, and that's really if you want to have enough headroom for a powerful build with like the higher end CPUs, and you still want to overclock, then 750 will still give you that space. 650. Yeah, it might be a bit limited. So
yeah, it's not officially recommended.
No.
But you might be okay. But
yeah, I mean, we're not saying it won't work because it will, up to a certain point.
Until your house burns down?
No,
a bit before.
I don't know. I mean,
No,
it would actually be interesting. Maybe we can ask. There's a stream upcoming as well. It's going to be about our power supply. So maybe we can ask somebody what happens if you have a power supply that's like lower than what the card or the system is actually using, and what happens if you go over that? Is it just simply that the system just shuts down, powers out, and that's it, or I don't know.
That's quite an interesting thing.
Will be an interesting
but
test.
I think power supplies today have a lot of safety features, so it probably will shut down your PC.
Yeah. So then nothing bad happens unless I mean your PC shutting down in the middle of a game is pretty bad. So.
Of course, you should always buy a decent brand.
Yes.
Like this MSI.
Like MSI, yeah.
Yeah, like that, like this one. Yeah, it's.
Yeah. Again, we will have a full stream covering our power supply soon, so that you can get more information about it. All right. I think what is the next game we were going to benchmark? Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah, Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
I think right. It's
Do you want to show
favorite.
Temperature and maybe clock speed? I think people want to know.
Yeah, of course. So we will. Can you pull it up during the benchmark of the game, or?
No.
So just after, right?
I haven't set up Afterburn at the moment.
Yeah.
Sorry about it.
No, that's okay.
Maybe next time. GPU clock? Yeah, so people know how fast it is.
Of course.
Right. Let's start Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Always takes some time.
Yeah, you should have gone with the M.2.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and waited 2 years for GeForce IO to be ready.
Right? It's worth waiting.
Let's see. The options now
just
4K
kidding,
without DLSS, but I also wanted to show you with DLSS.
Yes.
Graphics are. I don't want custom. I want highest because we've got one of the highest end cards.
Because highest. That's
because
the thing
highest,
we're aiming
yes.
for. Ultra because ultra. That's pretty much.
There's no ultra setting, so we go to highest. Yeah,
exactly.
It's also a bit sad. I want ultra.
Power would be nice too. I mean, guys, the numbers in terms of power usage and stuff like that, that's coming up a little bit later this stream. We've got some slides there that we borrowed from media reviews that we saw. So we'll show you that in a minute as well. Also because, well, simply put, you saw those really cool things that Nvidia sent all the reviewers, the LCAT, PCAT, whatever it was, the measurement devices for latency basically and power usage. We didn't get them, so unfortunately we can't show you that.
Apparently we're not a reviewer.
No, exactly. We are not a reviewer. We're not media, and I think it makes sense because we are one of the we are MSI. We are one of the parties making some of these cards. So
running 4K resolution, DLSS off at the moment.
Yes.
Do another run with it on, so you can see the difference.
Yes.
Of course, VSync off because.
Yes. VSync
otherwise,
off.
it would be limited. Yeah.
Yeah.
And highest settings, and we start the benchmark run.
Go for it. Oi, ray tracing on, please. Mr. Steve UK says. Well, maybe in a bit. I didn't pay attention. The ray tracing is off in this one.
Yes. Default highest settings it's off. Yes.
All right. So this is the just the rasterization version.
Do I buy a MSI GPU or an Asus GPU? Yeah. I think you should buy an MSI.
We'll leave that up to you.
Because you're watching this stream.
We'll leave that up to you. Yeah, ray trace shadows are disabled indeed. So that's we will turn that on in the next run, I think. All right. You can see. Let me just take the logo down. You can see it's around 60.
Oh yeah, was the logo
FPS.
over? Yeah. And this is in 4K, highest settings. Ray tracing will make it a bit harder for the GPU.
Yeah. Has the 3080 been tested alongside an i9-9900K stock versus OC to see if there's any bottlenecking? Again, you'll probably be hard pressed to find a scenario where it's bottlenecking, but you will be able to find one if you look for it. That's pretty much the case. So if you go looking for ways to bottleneck it, you will find them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it will be very specific cases probably, but yes, there will be cases where it does bottleneck it. But again, you will be at hundreds of FPS. So at that point, is it really something that you're bothered by?
Somebody was asking, is it very loud? No, it isn't. It's like 30 centimeters away from the microphone at the moment, and I don't think you can hear it. I can. Wait. Let's try this, if it works. Can you hear it now? It's very quiet.
Yeah. And
now it's now not even inside your case. So if you do it inside your case and your case on the ground or beside you.
And this is during benchmarking, so.
Yeah. It's very quiet.
Don't make the 3080 an oven. We did our best not to do that. But we'll show you the numbers in a bit, because I don't know, we were not running the Afterburner overlay, so you cannot see it in real time right now.
I haven't set it up yet. Yeah.
No, but we'll show you that in a minute when we go over the thing. Coil whine. I don't know. I'm sitting a bit further away, but Peter, coil whine?
No, you cannot notice it.
There you go. I mean, again, this from what I've gathered as well, this can pretty much differ per model, but even per individual card. Unfortunately,
every card makes a little bit of noise, always, but it's so tiny. It's not louder than the fan noise in any way. So.
Yeah. All right. Frames rendered. There you go. Average FPS almost 80.
78.
Yes. That's pretty spicy.
For 4K, it's pretty spicy. I think, Peter, you also have the numbers for the older cards.
Yes, so for comparison's sake, this is also at the highest 4K without DLSS, without ray tracing. The numbers, they are average FPS?
Yep, average.
There you go. Okay,
average.
so 1080 managed to score a average of 34 FPS on this same setting. That was the GTX 1080.
Yeah, that's less than half.
Yeah, the 2080, here we go, managed to score 49.
Yeah, that's also quite a big difference.
That's still a big difference.
Because 49 is less than 60, so it's not good for playing,
and
I think.
In your setting, without the, what is it? Without the streaming.
Oh yeah.
It did 85 on 85. Average. So it's still a bit impacted again by the NDI, by the capturing, but what CPU are we using? I'm seeing people asking again. We covered this in the beginning, but we'll say it again. It is the i7-9700K.
Yes.
I think it's running at stock speeds, correct?
Yeah, 100% stock speeds on the CPU. XMP on the memory, 3200. Yeah. So nothing crazy.
Yeah, nothing really special. Not something you can also, or something you would also do typically in your gaming rig. It's like just the typical.
And you can overclock it if you want to, but we're not testing the CPUs or the motherboards. We're benchmarking the graphics cards.
All right, full load temperatures. People are asking.
Oh, full load temperature.
All right, give it to me.
The highest number.
Can you pull it up in the middle of the screen a bit?
Yeah, I can make it bigger.
I'm seeing something like 70.
Yeah.
A bit higher maybe.
71.
71. 71 degrees.
71 degrees. It's already dropped down to 55.
There you go.
And the GPU clock, because people also want to know.
Like the actual in-game clock.
Actual in-game. I'll try to make it bigger. Yes. Yeah. But the numbers are probably tiny.
I'm seeing 1.9. Oh, actually, above 2 gigahertz.
Yeah, probably was still in the menu. So we go a bit. I think the last part here should be the benchmark itself. It's 1965, 9080.
Yeah, so very
a
close to
little bit lower,
2000.
935.
Very close to 2 gigahertz.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you see the boost clock is like 1815. The actual core clock of this card, as completely stock, no overclock on the card, is what did they say? 1950 is about the average.
Yeah.
So it's a lot higher than the advertised boost clock.
So that's why I'm saying,
in this game, in this setup.
Exactly. So that's why I also say always the boost clock that's advertised, or in the spec sheets or on the website or stuff like that. Yes, it's maybe an indication to some people, but it's usually not even realistic or nowhere close to the speed that the card actually reaches in game. Because of the whole GPU boost and stuff like that. So the card will boost itself already up to a speed that's allowed both by the power target, but of course also by the temperature. And seeing as this the Trifrost 2 cooler is keeping the GPU at a leisurely 71 degrees, that's really quite cool.
Yeah, and there are different ways to cool the card. You can have it really cool and really loud.
Yeah.
So the temperature can be lower, but then you need to change the fan profile and speed up the fans. That's an option, but most people prefer, I think, quieter card and running a little bit hotter, a little bit warmer, and it's no big deal.
No, it's always the trade-off, right? I mean, you can choose. The thing is, you can put the fans at 100%, which would make the card quite loud, but it would keep temperatures quite low. And it also perhaps would allow for a bit more boost by GPU boost itself already. The question is, do you find that acceptable? I mean, you can put the fans at 100% in Afterburner yourself, should you wish to do that. That's possible. But we always try, out of the box, we try to find the right balance between low noise, so keeping the card pretty quiet so it doesn't bother you in any way and it's not loud, while still offering you the best performance we can. So also keeping the temperatures low, pretty much. That's the same thing, pretty much. So we always try to find that the best balance in those cases.
Yeah, because like fan speeds for this card in the benchmark was up to 1261 RPM.
Yeah, and
so that's really slow for a fan.
I mean, we also deal in percentages sometimes. I have no idea. Maybe this is like 30% or something of what it's capable of.
Actually, it is 43, but...
oh, there you go.
But actually, the percentage doesn't say anything. It's just a number up to the maximum. If you set it to 100%.
But it's just saying that the fans weren't spinning very fast at all yet.
Indeed.
They could
They can go
a
lot faster.
Yeah. I see some power numbers there. Are they reliable? Is that something we can look at, or is that something? Because I know some software doesn't really accurately measure things.
I think they're pretty reliable.
Okay. So what can you say about that? Because there's a max value there as well, right?
Indeed, there's a maximum column, there's a third column, and it says 338 watts of power.
And what does that measure? Is that everything combined from the graphics card? So both what it draws from the PCIe slot and also the 3 8-pins?
Yes.
Combined?
Yeah, combined power.
All right.
Total board power.
All right. So that's, and you said it's 3, the numbers are quite small for me, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
for everybody. 338.
338, so it's just below 340. Because I saw some people asking about what is the power limit on our gaming card. And out of the box, I can already tell you it is actually 340.
Yes.
However, there is of course a little bit of room, wiggle room to push that up. And I think in the case of our gaming, that is 350.
Yes, so you can go a little bit higher if you want to.
Yeah. But I mean, in a minute we will show you some graphs that compare some of the cards, and then out of the first reviews that we encountered earlier this afternoon, and there you will see that pretty much, I mean, there's a way of calculating. Because I saw that, for example, the Founders Edition from Nvidia has a higher power limit, right? It has 370, if I'm correct.
Yeah. They say that's up to 370.
And you would think, well, maybe there's a big difference because our Gaming X only can do 350 at max, and so the Founders Edition can go higher. But I mean, realistically, does that translate into more performance directly?
Most of the time, it's not.
Yeah.
It's always a balance. You can put in a lot of power and have 0 performance increase. That's possible. Yeah. So it depends on the settings.
Yeah.
So those numbers directly doesn't say anything.
Yeah. So indeed, I mean, the point I'm trying to make here also is that sometimes, you know, people look at the numbers on paper and they just think, okay, higher numbers, that means better, that means more performance, that means faster. That's not always how it works. Sometimes, yes, if you're talking about performance numbers, you know, from benchmarks, then yes, that's actually showing you the speed and the performance. But if you're looking at specifications and statistics like that, like for example the power limit, that doesn't directly mean that one is faster than the other.
True.
Good card. Wish we could actually buy it.
Yes.
What can I say? It's coming, guys. I know, and it really sucks that we can't get it. We can't beam them over to you guys directly. If that was possible, we would do that, of course. Again, it's just the whole situation. It's a bit difficult to, and it's a bit more time-consuming than usual. So have a little bit of patience, and I'm sure the cards will be there soon enough in the coming weeks.
Maybe before Christmas. I don't know. It could be a few days. Could be.
It really depends on your region and everything like that, and even on your specific reseller. Also, if one e-tailer or retailer in your neighborhood doesn't have it, maybe check with another one. Usually, it's a good bet to start checking with the bigger retailers. They will usually be the first ones to get shipments in. I mean, it's just how it works.
Yep.
All right. Maybe then do the one with the ray tracing on. Why not?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Go back and let's see. Oh, it was on the wrong page.
And then in the meantime, what I will do is I will do another giveaway. Okay. I'm not seeing that many giveaways, guys. Not that many guys. Just some people mentioning it.
Is the link posted?
Probably. No. But I mean, I'm actually happy that not everybody is asking about the giveaway.
Yeah, there were a lot of asking while the Nvidia guy was here. Maybe the Nvidia Lars should
maybe next time. Indeed, maybe I can ask Lars if he can arrange a giveaway of some sort.
Give away some GPUs.
Yeah, he's giving away free knowledge.
Oh yeah, we're also giving away free knowledge.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. Let me see. So drawing another winner.
Let's see. Ray traced ultra. Oh, wrong.
And our next winner is called Tyler Wells. Congratulations, Tyler. We'll get the code to you as soon as possible. $20 Steam code. Again, if you guys want to participate, let me drone up the giveaway visual right there. In the bottom, as you can see, go to msi.com/2/insider or go directly to the link that I think is being output in the chat.
Yeah, you asked for giveaways.
People are actually getting mad at giveaways. I saw somebody like, stop spending time on stupid giveaways. All right, okay, cool. Yeah, well, that's fine. We'll still give away, but we'll keep it short. Anyway.
Yes, DLSS is on.
DLSS. Okay, so in this case, DLSS.
Oh no, I was turning it on. Let's turn it on. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button.
Oops.
Yes, it's on. And ray trace quality is on.
All right.
On ray trace shadow quality on ultra.
Ultra. There you go. Of course, because ultra.
Yeah, because ultra.
Because ultra.
Yeah.
It's a reason in and of itself.
Ready for the benchmark?
Yes. Do it.
I'll have pressed the button.
Do it.
Yeah.
How much better is the gaming X-Trio compared to Ventus?
A lot better.
It has that much more RGB. Now, it's hard to say, and we prefer to wait for the media reviews because it's more like third party. You know, of course, we can tell you. You could expect, and you should expect, gaming to be a little bit better at cooling. There are some differences. We will go into that a little bit later as well to show you some of the differences. And I mean physically. So, for example, the PCB design is a bit different. Both are custom, but the gaming PCB is a little bit larger, a bit bigger, so that has certain advantages. But other things like, for example, the power design, power components, the number of phases are actually identical. So those are not different. And the cooling solution on gaming is also just a little bit more beefy. It also is, the gaming card is using the newer fans, Torque Fan 4.0, whereas the Ventus is using the last generation Torque Fan 3.0 that were on the gaming cards on the 20 series. Definitely not a bad fan, but yeah, I mean, there's a reason why we innovated to Torque Fan 4.0.
You always need to innovate.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not expecting, and I'm not saying it's a huge difference. The Ventus will still give you solid performance, solid cooling, but the gaming is just a little step above it. And should have a bit more headroom if you want to overclock it, for example, also.
Yeah, it depends on what you want in your system.
Yes.
But yeah, overall the gaming card gives you a bit more, tiny bit more performance.
Yes.
But if you don't want any RGB and any 3080, it will do fine. The Ventus will also be a good buy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, RGB makes it faster.
Yes.
For sure.
And I'm expecting the gaming to be just a tiny bit more silent as well, compared to the Ventus.
Yeah.
Just
the gaming card is, I think, quite a bit more quiet than the Ventus.
Yeah. Here you go. All right. 60. And this is with ray tracing on Ultra, right?
Ray tracing on Ultra. I think this is the max setting I can set it to. Yes.
The max.
Max.
All right. And also, you know, remember we are still capturing and streaming from this GPU, from this system.
Yep.
So that is factoring into the results a little bit.
Yeah, it will lower the performance, I think, quite a bit.
We'll see.
But yeah, there's no other way to show it to you. Yeah, maybe point the camera at the screen, but
yeah, we could have pre-recorded it maybe, but you know there wasn't enough time because again, you know, we were only able to download the driver just an hour before the stream started. There wasn't much time to do anything.
Yeah, but it's more fun to do it live, right? If
also
it fails,
that, yeah. I mean, we want to show you guys, you know, live, not pre-recorded in the best possible scenario. We just want to show you guys what happens. We just downloaded it. We put the card in. Let's go.
Indeed. So no trickery. This is it.
Yeah. So 67 frames on average.
67. It's quite impressive for a 4K ray traced title. Yes.
And in a game like this, anything above 60 is fine.
Yeah, probably people saw it drop a little bit below 60, of course.
Yes.
But overall,
at some point.
It's a very good experience still. Yeah.
Can you go to the temperatures again and the other numbers just to check that out? Here you go.
Temperatures. 70. What? Oh,
72.
72. I saw 72.
No.
Yeah. But that was still in the menu. This was the benchmark part. So actually the benchmark was only up to 70.
Yeah. There you go.
And GPU clock of over 2000.
Ah, there you go. And people are asking, was DLSS turned on that one? I think it was, right?
Yeah, it was on. Yeah, DLSS was on.
Yes.
I think it will be a bit hard to run it without DLSS. Or lower the ray tracing quality a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe you need to buy the higher version of this one. Maybe 3080 is not enough for you.
For some people, you know, the highest is never enough.
No.
I'm seeing also people saying, can we use Furmark? Yeah, we could, but there's really not a point because I think you can explain it better than I can.
Furmark, it does nothing. It makes the card hot. It doesn't output anything, but only makes the card hot.
Yeah.
There's no performance number in it.
And it's also unrealistically hot, right? Because it's just the whole goal of Furmark is to make it hot, and it's usually it will make it hotter than any game would, typically.
Typically, yes.
But also, a lot of the drivers, I think, in time have come to recognize FurMark, and so they will automatically even downclock or do something to gimp the performance a bit.
When you run FurMark, I've done it on this card actually. The GPU clock will drop quite a bit, and it makes the card hotter than it in any game, in any benchmark, in any other scenario.
So I mean, you could do it for the hell of it, but it doesn't really say anything other than this card can also get quite hot.
So there's no benefit in running FurMark. If you want to do it, fine, but I wouldn't spend like a lot of money to run FurMark. No. I would rather play a game.
Exactly. You guys streaming this with capture card? No, actually, we are streaming this through a protocol called NDI. And that is allowing us, because we only have a capture card that's capable, at the moment at least, that's capable of doing 1080p, and we wanted to do the benchmarking at native 4K. So to do that, we had to use a different capturing protocol, which is called NDI. And that lets us indeed encode everything from the benchmarking rig next to Peter, and uses a bit of the GPU to do that, the encoding, and then sends it to the streaming PC that I'm sitting behind or at, and then goes from there.
Somebody asked if the VENTUS has the same performance. I think the performance difference is only maybe 1%, maybe 2%.
Let's maybe let's go to the slides that we had for media reviews as well, because I think that maybe can show some more context also to the numbers. So I think
and 0 lights on the VENTUS. There are no lights on it.
Nothing whatsoever.
Nothing.
Oh, is there? No, actually there isn't. Yeah.
No,
I was wondering if there's anything on the PCB, like a status indicator or something, but I don't even think that's the case.
No. There's no lights on it.
Yeah.
So, if you want no lights,
exactly. If you want lights out, that's the card you go for.
But you can also buy the gaming card and turn it off.
Yeah.
So you got still the better performance, the quieter card, and you can turn off the lights if you want to.
DK, is it true that Gaming X Trio is locked to max 350 watt usage when overclocking? Yes, at the moment that is indeed true.
Yeah.
Yes, confirmed. But let's go. Can you pull up the slides, Peter? Then because we have some more context to give to that number and some of this performance.
Yes,
I think it's worth going over.
Let's do this. I think you've got some slides here.
Yes. Let me know when you've got it.
Yeah, I've got.
All right. Yes. It's still showing.
There it is.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm just wondering if this one would be. Yeah, because we're blocking too much of the screen with our heads. There you go. All right. Go for it, Peter. Go for it.
The numbers.
Yes. Pull up some of the slides and we'll just start talking away.
Okay. You're the talking guy, right?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, some of you guys were talking about clock speeds before, and again, the rated the boost speed on the defined on the box and in the BIOS even is, what was it? 1815?
Yes, correct.
Yes. But as you can see, and it showed in our benchmarking just now, but also in the third-party tests like this one by tech testers, the average clock speed, I'm not quite sure which game, it was
I'm not sure. No.
Some benchmark in some game, but this was what they presented, and the average clock speed was 1980, and that was pretty consistent with what we saw just now.
Yeah, you just saw just before, like we were between also 1950 and 2000. Yes.
Yeah.
And they had a different card. There's also a bit of variation between cards and in games, but yeah.
But I mean, this looks pretty consistent with what we were seeing with our sample. And as you can see, I mean, not all cards are equal. And that's not to say that, for example, the Founders Edition is always lower. Maybe it is actually, because it is running at a bit lower clock speed out of the box. But like I said, GPU boost, again, it's not that far removed from the 1980 figure that you see with our card.
And also the Nvidia card has a lower board power, so it can only go up to 320 watts.
By standard, indeed.
Standard, of course, but most people use it standard.
Exactly. Well, most people indeed. So, but if you would unlock it with Afterburner, for example, you could potentially go a bit higher on the Founders Edition board.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate into more performance directly. All right, maybe we can go to the next one. Noise levels, because again, this is something that we always find important. We want to offer you great performance, but we don't want to make the thing sound like a damn leaf blower while doing it. That's kind of the gist.
Yeah, indeed.
So what you can see here as well, and this is again the same test that you saw before, where we had our card had the highest clock speeds by a small margin. We also have the most quiet card, the most silent one. So there you go. That's the balance we're looking for. Still offering great performance, but making sure the card is as silent as we can also make it, so it's not getting in the way of your gaming experience, or it's not at least, you know.
And that's on default settings. You can make it more noisy if you want to.
Yeah, you can put the cards on 100%.
Most people don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. You can put the fan levels at 100%, and then yes, it will be noisy. But out of the box, and most people probably will install the card and not bother with anything like Afterburner or stuff like that. They will just want to enjoy the game. And then this is the performance we want to offer you, and the experience we want to offer you.
Let's see what we've got more.
Yes, we got more fan noise stuff. This is from another media, Gur 3D. And also there we can see that compared to the Founders Edition, it had 38, which is also, it's not noisy. Let's be honest here. It's also pretty quiet. 38. Yes, you may notice it. But 33, again, it's just a bit more silent. And some people were saying in the chat also, hey, what is the reason, or how would you justify the added price compared to, for example, Founders Edition or other cards? Well, here you have it. It's a bit, I don't want to say it's better, but it has different things going for it. In this case, the card is a bit more silent. While running at similar or a bit higher performance even.
Yeah, higher clock speeds and a bit more quiet, yeah.
So there you go, that's your answer. But in the end, it's all up to you guys. I mean, if you want to spend that or not. You can go to the next slide if you want. Overclock performance then, because I think that's also quite interesting this generation. I'm still having to find out what the overclock is like. Afterburner, if I'm not correct, we have a beta version available somewhere. I think tomorrow it's going to be publicly available.
Should be launched tomorrow, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, some things are still not 100% working. I believe the OC scanner, for example, is not quite working yet, stable in all scenarios. And the same thing goes with the whole process of overclocking the Ampere architecture. It's probably a bit of a learning situation. I can't wait until I get the chance to do it and get some time to actually overclock. But here you can pretty much see that the maximum overclock comparison on the left top, again, our card manages to hit the highest average clock speeds, and also in performance manages to get the highest performance, which is not really surprising, but still nice.
Now you can see that also the clock speeds translates to more performance. Actually, nobody cares about the clock speeds as long as you got the frames per second.
Yes, exactly. Because that's the thing that matters in the end.
Yes, indeed.
Here you're kind of in the way, but that doesn't matter.
Let's see this way.
Because here Unigine Heaven, which is a somewhat older benchmark, I would say, but still quite usable. And here you can see also compared to the 1080 Ti, the 2080, 2080 Super, 2080 Ti, 3080 Founders Edition. And then below that is our card. So as you can see, the Founders Edition did an average of 240.7 FPS. Our card, just out of the box, stock settings, almost 10 FPS higher.
Yep.
9 to be exact, let's say, 9 FPS higher. And then with overclocked settings, even a bit more. So yeah, I mean, it's not like a world of difference. It's in games, you might notice it, but it's a couple of frames. So we also have to be fair about that.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, show the next one if you want. Again, from another media, Tech Power Up in this case, who published tests earlier today. And here we can also see in two different games, both at 4K resolution. Assassin's Creed Odyssey on the left, Borderlands 3 on the right. And here we can see, again, this is about gaming performance. Average FPS, higher is better. And here you can see compared to the Founders Edition, which did a nice 60 FPS 3080, our 3080 Gaming X Trio did 63, almost 64 So it's a nice bump. On Borderlands 3, somewhat similar. Although I don't. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I was trying to find the Founders Edition there, but that's just over 70 FPS. Our card 73.5. Again, it's it's a difference, and you might notice it. But I mean, the bigger picture here is if you look, and then if you also compare it to, for example, something. Okay, go back to a 1080 Ti, which, for example, in Borderlands 3 does 37 FPS, and then going from that to a 3080 will almost double your performance. No, will it? Yeah, it's pretty much double your performance.
Close. Yeah, indeed.
So that's pretty freaking nice, and that's at 4K. So that also means that, of course, there might be dips below 60 in this thing. It's average FPS, but still, you know, that's on average. If you want something like 60 FPS gaming at 4K, it's doable, according to these graphs. So that's nice.
Indeed.
Yeah. What else do we have? Yeah, this is about software.
Again,
you know, we've got a lot of software. I think we covered this last stream, not last stream, but the previous stream I did at the 30 series launch. Maybe we also had some other slides about, in general, the 3080 reviews.
Yes.
I think those were from yesterday. Maybe you can go back to those.
A bit back.
Yeah, that was
this one.
Yes. All right. So benchmark index in 4K Ultra, and this is the Founders Edition. Done by Tweakers. Unfortunately, their logo at the bottom right is a bit blocked by the monitor, but we'll mention them anyway because credit where credit is due. And as you can see here, that at 4K Ultra, I mean the 3080, especially compared to previous generation 1080 Ti, 1080 20 series, it's a big leap. It's a huge leap actually. Of course, depending, I mean, if you have a 2080 Ti, yes, it's still a pretty nice jump. But yeah, I mean, if you're on something like a 1080, which was a pretty friggin' sweet card back in the day, but if you now are considering, you know, 4K gaming, yeah, the 1080 is not really gonna cut it, but the 3080 should. And this is like an average FPS. At the bottom right, you can see percentage-wise, if you take the 1080 Ti as a baseline, that's 100%. Then you can see, for example, the 3080 is almost 80% faster on average than the 1080 Ti. So that's, yeah, really impressive.
Big improvements.
Yeah. All right, next one. Yeah, 4040p. So those ones just now were at 4K. And if we go to 4040p, so one resolution lower, I mean, the differences get a bit smaller. They're not quite as big. Again, also shows that the 3080 is really shines and is meant for 4K gaming pretty much, or that's really where you can get the most out of it. But as you can see here also, yeah, there's compared to, I think there's also, 1080 Ti bench or baseline on the bottom right. And compared to that, you have a 65%-ish on average gain, which is still pretty nice. But you know, it scales kind of like this. So if you would go down to 1080p, I don't think we have that in here. Oh, actually we do.
Yeah, we do have the 1080p.
Then indeed, so then the benefit becomes a bit smaller. Because again, then it becomes more. You run into more often. You will run into CPU bottlenecks than GPU bottlenecks, depending on the situation. But on average, and that's really what this picture shows. The benefits of upgrading to a 3080 are the biggest if you are gaming on a 4K resolution, for example. You will notice the biggest benefit and the biggest change in performance. Then we had something else. Oh yeah, DLSS.
Yes.
Yeah. So on the left, 4K with RTX Metro Exodus. You can see RTX on and RTX off comparison there. So at the bottom, the purple row or pinkish, I don't know. That's with RTX off, and that's the 3080. And it runs almost at 100 FPS, 95.7, pretty nice. And then if you turn RTX on, it's still a pretty big hit. Which can happen, but that's exactly why they made and improved DLSS a lot. So on the right side, that's where you really see where this is going and what you can expect in more games going forward. In Control, the 3080 without RTX on, as you can see just next to Peter's glasses there, 39.8 FPS.
Yeah,
if you turn RTX on
yes.
without DLSS, you will again get a pretty sizable performance hit. Almost half, no, not having it really, but like 40% less or something, 45. Down to 55 FPS, so from almost near 100 to just over 50. That's a pretty big change. But then if you would enable DLSS again, you're almost up to the original FPS or performance that you would have without ray tracing enabled.
Yeah.
But then with ray tracing effects, so the visuals are much nicer, and you still get pretty spicy performance. So this is really, I think, all the things we want to look forward to also in other games. Of course, Control is one example. But, for example, if Metro Exodus at some point also can do, it should do DLSS. I'm not quite sure if it's DLSS 2.0 already. But anyway, you should see more cases like this, hopefully in the future, where you can still enjoy that ray tracing and those visual effects without the performance hit. That's really what we're going towards. Yeah, I think we can look at the next one. Oh yeah, so this is something we...
This is quite interesting.
Yeah, at the beginning of the stream we touched on it a little bit, because indeed we are using a platform which has, a Z370, right?
Yes, Z370 Godlike.
Which is using PCIe 3.0. And you might be wondering, well, this card supports 4.0 PCIe, so why not use an AMD platform that supports that? Because obviously they are marketing that hardly with their Ryzen launch and stuff. Well, here's the story, and here's really why we don't do that. Hardware Unboxed did a great piece about this as well. That's where this visual is from. And it really makes it very clear. Yes, there are some minor differences depending on the resolution. 1080p, you might see a small, tiny difference, unlikely to notice it, but still. To be fair, yes, there is a small difference if you look at the numbers. And that's really down to, yes, then the CPU becomes more of a factor, and also the lanes and the, what is it?
There's much more traffic.
The bandwidth, the bandwidth that's available to you becomes a bit more of a factor, but still not enough to have a significant impact, as you can see. And going up in resolutions really only pretty much nullifies that difference. So it really removes any difference whatsoever until you get into 4K, and really it's within margin of error already. Even at 1440p, probably that you could also call within margin of error. So, yeah.
So if you've got a little bit older system, there's no direct need to upgrade.
No, we got a question 2 weeks ago that somebody was saying, what if I have PCIe 2.0?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's something that you might want to look into. Maybe we need to ask the guys at Hardware Unboxed to include that one next time, just for comparison's sake. Would be interesting to see.
I think actually it should still work quite well.
Yeah.
But you're probably your bottleneck is not the PCI Express lanes; it's more your CPU. There's not a fast enough CPU on that platform available to run any games in any real high FPS.
Exactly.
I guess.
But yeah, so that's why, yes, it's nice for future proofing, or however you want to call it. Yes, at some point, especially like with RTX IO, whenever that becomes a thing and really starts shining, that's when you will start seeing differences by people using PCIe 3 versus 4, because that's when the bandwidth is more will be used more. Now, I mean, the whole bandwidth cap of PCIe 3 or 4 is not really being fully utilized yet in games mostly.
Yes, but it will be for the future.
It will happen at some point.
The same tests were done from PCIe 2.0 to 3.0 at that time.
Yeah, and people were saying, it's ridiculous, you're never going to hit that cap.
No.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, give it enough time, and yes, at some point you will.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, you can go to the next one.
More numbers.
Yeah, also from Hardware Unboxed.
Total system power consumption.
Yes. So this was also a topic a lot of people were interested in. You know, yes, this generation, the Ampere GPUs use a significant more amount of power. Yes. However, as you've seen in our tests here, and also as you will see in all the media tests, if you want to look at them, there's not really an issue cooling them with our graphics card coolers. They are quite capable of keeping them at something like 70 degrees, as you could see. And here you can really see indeed the difference between the different generations. So for example, a 2080, and this is a full system, total system power. So this is not just a graphics card, right? This is their full system.
Yeah, everything with motherboard, CPU.
It doesn't say here. I think they mentioned in the video what they were using. I think they were using quite a powerful high-end CPU as well. So you can expect a high-end rig. And with the 2080, it was using upwards of 416 watts, for example. And that same rig, using a 3080, is using up to 523 watts. And this is what it's pulling from the wall, right? This is what it's really pulling out of the socket of the wall.
Yeah. This also included the inefficiency of your power supply and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. So and I mean inefficiency power supply. That's also quite. I found out quite interesting because, but that we will probably cover in a future stream at some point when it's about power supplies. But that's why it's, for example, you have the 80 plus and 90 plus things going on there. Yeah, there is some inefficiency going on. So what goes into the power supply through your wall socket is not exactly what's coming out on the other side going to your components.
No, there's no 100% efficiency.
No, unfortunately not.
No, but also makes a bit sense if the whole system power is 523 watts. Then Nvidia recommends a 750 watt power supply, and that takes into account a lot of things, like maybe you put in extra sound cards, extra hard drives, or maybe 10 hard drives, or a lot of fans, or a lot of RGB. That all takes power from the power supply. And some power supplies are maybe not that high quality, so also you need to take in account the inefficiency of that maybe. So that's why Nvidia always recommends a bit higher than you actually might need.
DK has an interesting question. Why does the 350 watt OC power draw cap exist? Will it be removed in the future? And he's already purchased the Gaming Trio, so nice. Because you can see what it can do, what it's capable of now. But will it be removed? I don't expect so, no. These cards are designed this way. And as you can see, I mean, even with a higher power cap, I'm not sure if it's completely used in the numbers that we saw from, I think the overclocked numbers. I'm not sure if you can go back to those, Peter, but it would be interesting to know. But I don't think that, even if we put them up, if that would directly give you more power. And even if it did, you would only be talking about a couple of percentages.
Yeah, indeed.
And the number or the amount of power that would be used to achieve those extra percentages is disproportionate. So what you would get is a card that's going to get a lot hotter and a lot louder really fast, while giving you performance you're unlikely to notice, a performance increase that you're unlikely to notice. So really you're looking at kind of like the apex situation here, that these cards are already tuned to the optimum situation, basically, where we can still keep them cool and they can still give you as much performance as squeeze out of the card and out of the GPU as you can get within these parameters, without really blowing the roof off in terms of power usage.
It's also a bit of a safety feature.
Yes.
So if you do an unlimited slider, there's always somebody who set it to unlimited and blows up his card, and then he's crying. So,
then the GPU dies, and that's not a good thing. We're not in the business of harming GPUs here.
No. We want to have people be happy and play games.
So they're saying 3 times 8-pin connectors are a waste. Interesting question.
Not really. In theory, yes, maybe. Because one 8-pin power connector can do 150 watts times 2 and like 66 watts 12 volt from the PCI Express slot.
Yeah, so you're up to 360 already?
Yeah, 366. So in theory you can do like a 2-pin, 2 power connectors.
Which our VENTUS, for example, uses.
Yeah, but it's not a 340 watt card, it's a 320 watt card.
Yes, true.
So it has a bit more safety margin.
Yes.
But it's really difficult to balance all the power of all the connectors exactly.
Yeah.
So you cannot say, oh, this pin can do exactly 150 watt and the other one 150 and the slot 66. It doesn't work that way.
No.
So it's more a bit of a safety feature to not overload any cables and not overload your PCI Express slot.
Yeah.
I think in some tests I saw that the PCI Express slot only delivers about like 50 watts.
Yeah.
So
yeah, something like that.
so the more through the cables, actually that's preferable, I think.
Well, the bulk will be drawn through the cables anyway, and in some very low GPUs, sometimes you will notice it will actually not have any of the 6 or 8 pins, because the power draw of the GPU will then be, I don't know, somewhere under 60, for example, 60 watts or 50 watts, and then it can actually draw enough power from the motherboard, from the PCIe slot, to do the job.
Yeah, but that's
That's really entry level.
Yeah, the fastest card at the moment who can do that is like a 1650 first generation.
Something
Some
like
versions of that.
Yeah.
Not even the OC versions.
No, exactly. So then then you're looking at very specific cases, and most other cases.
Not a 3080.
No. I'm not expecting any 3080 to be able to do that. No. Not while running at these clock speeds anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe if you downclock it to the most extreme, you might get away with it. But
Maybe.
yeah, then you're wasting a perfectly good 3080.
You cannot lower the power limit enough. I think the minimum power limit is still like 100 watt or so.
Yeah. Well, it's hypothetically, if you were able to do that, indeed, then hypothetically you could do it. But then again, why?
We spoke 8-pin cable, so 2 times 8.
Yeah.
I've got on the system here, maybe you can show on the close-up cam. I've got 2 cables running to it, and one is looping from the first to the second.
Yeah.
From the first loops underneath here to the second, and one directly to the middle one.
Yeah.
So you can just loop them. That's fine. Don't make your own plugs and loop 3 of them. That would be crazy, because you can overload the cables itself.
John M, how can I monitor my system's power draw? The easiest way is to just buy like a simple measurement tool from any like Home Depot or whatever shop, and then just plug it in between your wall socket and the plug that you put in the wall normally. That's the easiest way. But you also have like software tools that, for example, Peter was showing earlier.
Yeah, but that's still software. It's not the same.
No, exactly. I mean, so that's why if you really want this hardware, the whole system, total system power draw, the best thing is to do like actually measurement at the wall. I think that's the most accurate.
Yeah, and if you've got very specific power supply who can have measurement data on it, with USB data, and they can give you a readout on that. But those are crazy expensive.
Exactly, so we don't really recommend that. There's easier ways of doing it.
About the 3-pin power connectors, you need to connect them all 3. If you disconnect one or forget to plug in one,
card
it won't
will not
start.
work. Yeah.
So you need to have a power supply who features enough 8-pin power connectors. Yeah. But that's no problem because you always need to buy, let's say, 750 watt, and they'll also come with 4 or 6 8-pin power connectors. Yeah. So. No issue there.
Run it for a month and divide the electric bill by the time, and you get power draw. Okay. Don't recommend that people plug tools into their wall sockets. You're absolutely right. No, don't do that. No, but if it's a special measurement tool that you can just put in between, that's okay. But be careful indeed. Don't go prodding at wall sockets. Don't do it.
Peter.
Yes.
Do you want to show more details of the cards?
Yeah. Can you? What do you think? You want to? Eric is not here, so I think it's safe.
I think so. Yeah.
So what do you think? You want to pull it off and see if we can pull it apart?
Yeah, actually, I want to do the gaming cards.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I think people want to see the gaming cards.
Yeah, I heard some people. I saw some people in the chat asking for it, indeed.
Yeah. So should we do that?
Yes, go for it. In the meantime, I will draw another winner.
Then I'll turn off this system.
Yes. Okay.
Let's see.
So guys, if you want to win one of our Steam wallet codes, $20 Steam wallet codes, you can go to msi.com/2/insider, or go. I think there's still the link to the giveaway. The Gleam link will be spammed in the chat every now and again. Either that, or I need to figure out how the new bot works. Maybe it's something like ! giveaway. I think that it should work if you cannot find the link. And then, I mean, you still have a chance to win one of the codes if you are quick. And then, in the meantime, as you can see, Peter is disconnecting the the 3080 Gaming X card, Gaming X Trio, and he will very carefully and very respectfully perform a teardown, very professionally as well.
For the first time, because I've never done this before on this card, so we'll see.
On camera.
Oh, and indeed on camera. No pressure here.
Can you maybe put the? Oh no, actually don't.
Oh yeah, I can maybe put this one.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh no, I was going to say maybe put the rig on the floor if you can.
Oh, because it's.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't
like
care.
Here?
Yeah. I don't care. It's blocking me pretty much.
Sorry.
We're going to be in close-up view most of the time anyway.
Let's do this.
Yes. Do it. All right, and the next winner, we just drew the next winner. The next winner is called Sigurd337. So Sigurd337, congratulations on winning one of the $20 Steam wallet codes. We're gonna get the Steam code out to you in the coming days. Thank you for watching, of course. And yeah, again, we're gonna give at least one more away during this stream. But right now, I'm gonna hand the floor to Peter.
Oh, let's see. I don't know if the camera is a bit. No, it's.
Yeah. I think you can. Yeah, that's okay. Either that, or you can at some point just hold up the pieces closer to the camera.
Yeah. First, you need to remove the backplate because the backplate is also connected with to the cooler.
Yes.
And there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 screws in the backplate. So.
All right. And I'll do some talking in the meantime as well while Peter is doing the screwing.
No fancy Nvidia screws, just the standard, normal, tiny ones.
Yeah. And so basically also quite important to notice or to mention here is that you should not really, at this point at least, touch any of the 4 screws that you can see in the, yeah, it's a leaf spring actually, but yes, that the GPU bracket at the back, or the, yeah, GPU cooler bracket, because those actually are not connected to the backplate, so you don't need to take those off just to take off the backplate. This backplate, by the way, is what we call, incorrectly, we call a graphene backplate, because it's not 100% graphene. However, if we want to say it really correctly, it's a graphene composite backplate, which means it's a mixture of graphene and something else, in this case plastic. And the reason we did this is twofold. One, it makes the backplate stronger than regular plastic. And secondly, it also helps, graphene will allow this backplate to also get rid of some heat. So where normal plastic doesn't really have any properties that lets it take heat from the graphics card and then disperse it, the graphene plastic backplate, the composite backplate, actually does have the ability to do that. And you will notice it if you would have the card in your hands. If it's not been powered on, the backplate would actually feel a bit colder than normal plastic would. And in this case, because the card has been running, it probably feels a bit warmer.
That's nice and warm. That's actually, it cools quite good. So it's it's just the same temperature as my hands now.
Yes.
We got some thermal pads between the card itself and the backplate, just to cool the power delivery section. The one here and one on the other side. So that's this thermal pad and this thermal pad. And the memory modules, because they're so fast, also get a little bit warm. So they also need some cooling. So there's a module here, about 4 here, and 4 here. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's not right. There was some missing here.
All right. But you can
there should be 10 in here.
yeah. But you can see it on the other side later on as well.
Oh, here's only 1.
Yeah.
So you need to cool the memory also.
Yes, but of course on this card there's no memory on the front side. Oh, sorry, on this side, on the back side of the PCB.
No, there's another card that has some memory on the other side.
Yes. What happened to the backplate heat pipe? Happy Swedish guy. That's actually on a card that we're going to cover next week. Also on a Thursday, by the way. So it's not a weekly Wednesday live stream. It's not a Wednesday, it's a Thursday. Normally we stream on the Wednesday. But for these special occasions, to cover the 3080 and the 3090 next week, we moved the stream to the Thursday. So yeah, next week we're going to be talking about the 3090. And indeed that one has a backplate which has heat pipes attached to it. And the reason for that we'll show you next week when we also perform a teardown on the 3090. So as you see here, Peter is now carefully removing the leaf spring. So that's like a tension bracket, I guess is another word of saying it.
Yeah, it's definitely a spring because
it changes shape indeed when you loosen the screws.
Yeah, indeed, and it's really pulling up on the screws.
Yeah.
So if I let loose, then the screws will fly up.
Yeah. So, and the goal of and the purpose of this contraption here, of this leaf spring, is really to add mounting pressure to the cooler, so that the cooler contacts even better with the GPU, which leads to better heat dispersion, or it takes more heat from the GPU and takes it away.
Let's see, are there any more screws? I think we need to also remove the IO shield. Maybe we should have done that before, I guess.
I don't know. Could be.
Could be.
In previous teardowns, I never did that. Maybe indeed the top ones for the anti-bending bracket.
Yeah.
That one is...
It's also new for me, so
yeah,
we'll see.
Figure it out as we go.
Yep. And try not to break it.
No. Don't be like Eric.
I never said it.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah. You know, hashtag blame Eric is a thing for a reason. Yeah, I mean, I hear people saying plastic backplate. Yeah, I know. It's something that in the past, you know, people wanted backplates because they didn't want to stare at, you know, naked PCB. And then people started thinking about how to use a backplate, not just for looks, but also for other purposes, like you know, making the card stronger and also perhaps even with cooling. And then of course some materials are suitable for that, and others are a bit less suitable for that, or just not. But our engineers actually also found a way to you know, still use plastic, for example, or a mix of plastic and a different material. So it's something we're trying to innovate, and we'll have some specific tests being done actually to show that the card with the backplate attached, in this case with a graphene backplate or graphene composite backplate, is actually cooled better than if you were to remove the backplate completely. So it does actually work quite well.
Let's see if this works. Not sure.
Yes.
Yes, and there
There we
are
go.
some cables.
Yep, of course.
Because the fans.
Fans and RGB.
Yes.
But you are quite well versed in the ways of graphics card deconstructions or teardowns.
Yeah, I also need to put it back together later on.
Yeah, that's true.
But not in this live stream.
No, we'll do that later on. Yeah, so there you have it. So maybe show the underside of the cooler first. A couple of things to point out there, of course. As you see where the GPU sits, there you can see what we call the core pipes. So those are actually the heat pipes themselves. And as you see, there's virtually no space in between each heat pipe. So that means that no space is wasted in grabbing the heat from the GPU and distributing it across the heatsink to cool. You can also see a lot of thermal pads running up and down the whole thing. And even on the left side, so where the power components are located.
That's on two sides.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah. But on the other side, there's also even a whole like platform almost, as you can see it on that side, the aluminium platform there. Yeah. And I think that covers a lot of the power components where normally you will see the what is it? Is that the underside of the card or where the power connectors are located?
The power connectors are located here. In this
okay, up there, yeah.
There's a cutout here, so there are the power connectors.
Yes. But
these holes are for parts that are sticking up a bit.
Yes, yeah. But you can see there's a lot of different components that are actually transferring their heat either through thermal pads or directly to the heatsink itself. And that all adds to better cooling of the card. Not just the GPU, of course, but all parts of the card pretty much need cooling. Especially, I mean, yes, the GPU and, for example, memory modules and power components, those will traditionally get the hottest. But there's more parts of the card, even the PCB itself, because there's electricity running through the traces in the PCB. So even the PCB itself will heat up a little bit when you push the card. So yeah, everything needs a bit of cooling, or everything benefits from a bit of cooling, I think is a better way to say it. So Peter is now just cleaning off some of the thermal paste, which is of course a secret recipe, the thermal paste.
Yeah, it's quite sticky, so that's good.
Yeah, it should be. It's quite fresh. It's not old.
No. It's. Yeah. And here, I don't know if you can see it, but you could also count the heat pipes here.
You can hold it a bit closer to the camera. I think it will focus on. There you go.
How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7?
I counted, at least in the middle, I counted 7 indeed. So there's one wide one in the middle, and then there's 3 on either side of it.
Yes.
Which are a little bit thinner. Yeah.
7 heat pipes, one bigger one and 6 smaller ones.
Yeah.
And they're designed to distribute the heat throughout the whole card.
Yeah.
So otherwise this part would be too hot, so the heat pipes are here there to distribute it to the end.
Yes. So the whole heat pipe, the whole heatsink actually helps. If you didn't have the heat pipes running through the heatsink, then the outer edges, or the further away you get from the heat source, wouldn't be helping much with the cooling, because the heat wouldn't reach it, simply put. Yep. So the heat pipes really make sure that heat is distributed all across the whole heatsink.
Yeah, somebody was asking, would it be better to apply your own thermal paste than using the stock? The stock thermal paste we use is already a really good thermal paste.
Yes. We did a lot of testing. We do that, I think, every couple of years to make sure that if there's a better compound, that we use it. And it's not like a compound that you can buy off the shelf, probably. It's a little bit different, a little bit custom. But yeah, you can pretty much say that our the stock thermal paste that we put on there is pretty good.
Yeah, and it's designed to last long and perform good.
Yes.
And you can sometimes find better thermal paste, but then you need to maybe replace it every so often.
Yeah.
And our cards are designed just to we apply it in the factory, and it should last for years.
A couple of years at least. Yeah. Let's see. Can you show the fins there, because there are shapes in the fins, especially on the rear end of the card. Yeah. There you go. So as you can see, there are of course some deflectors there, which basically the air comes in this case from the bottom up, and it will split the air pretty much and steer it more towards directly onto the heat pipes, because again, the heat pipes is where most of the heat will be concentrated. And from the heat pipes, the heat will be distributed into or to the fins, basically. But the more air you can already get flowing onto the heat pipes directly, that will already lower the temperature a bit faster. So that's really what that does.
Yeah. And it's not here only at the end; it's throughout the whole fin stack. There's the deflectors inside.
Yes.
But you cannot show it on camera. It's even hard to see with my own eyes. So.
Yes. All right.
That's the cooling part. This is the MSI part, the important part to make it perform really great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also the heaviest part.
Yeah. Yeah. But also the part where in the reviews and the results we showed you earlier from media reviews, where it really shows that our cards are quite cool and still also quite silent. that really is down to that big hunk of metal that we call the heatsink that you just saw Peter remove, and all the aerodynamic tricks and features that are on there.
So
everything adds a little bit to the total result. Let's see. So now Peter is cleaning the GPU itself.
Let's see.
Is it GA102? No, what is it? No.
Yeah, you're correct.
Oh, okay.
It matches with the number on here.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, I forgot one part. Just to show you. Like.
Yes.
This part.
Yes. This is an anti-bending strap, which connects to both the I/O panel, which the I/O panel is the part that you screw onto your case, basically.
Yeah, that's this part.
Yes, the I/O bracket. Yeah. And as you can see, that part is well a bit thin. I would say it's not really thick metal. It's sturdy.
It's sturdy, but not super thick. Not as.
But indeed, so that black part, the strap, the anti-bending strap, that part is really thick. I mean that you would have a hard time bending, and that's exactly what it does. It prevents the card from bending, and it just adds additional stiffness to the card itself. So it prevents the card from bending or sagging. Or it helps to do that, let's say. It's not just that thing that does the trick, it's the whole card.
It's the whole card, including the backplate. That's why there are so many screws in the backplate also. Just to bring back, get some stiffness into the card.
Yes.
Because the cooler is quite heavy.
Yes.
And so you need to have a strong card.
Truly, and guys over here flexing with the RTX 3080, well, hopefully there won't be much flexing going on. Because it's that's what the anti-bending strap is for. Yeah, here we go.
It's so shiny.
It always is, isn't it?
Yeah.
The mirror shine, the GA102.
You can see the camera.
Or in regular terms, the RTX 3080 GPU. Yeah. And as you can see, the arrangement, there's still some thermal pads on the memory, I see.
Yeah, there's still one on the. Yeah. Sometimes they stick to the card, sometimes they stick to the cooler.
Yeah. But as you can see, this is a completely custom PCB design. It uses, I don't know how many layers, but a couple of layers, and also a thicker copper layer in between some of the layers. So that means it will have better signal quality, and also because the mass of the copper is a bit bigger, or a bit more, I should say, that also means that it will have an easier time spreading or dispersing any heat that's being created while all the electricity is running through the PCB. Yeah, and as you can see here, I think, can you count the power phases quickly?
It's always a bit difficult because you don't know exactly which phases are for which part.
Yeah, that's true.
But I would guess, and it is a guess, like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 phases here.
Yes.
And 2 here on top.
Yeah.
And on the other side we got 1, 2 here, and then 1, 2, 3 here, and another one. So in total, I lost count, 8, 10, 12, 14, in total 16, but some are for memory, some are for GPU, some are for different parts of the GPU.
Yes.
So the normal cores, the ray tracing cores,
yes.
Yeah.
But 16 phases in total, I think.
16 in total, at least I can count 16, yes.
Yeah. Let's see, what else can we show? So can you also show the power circuitry a little bit up close? Because I think there are also, besides the normal components and the 8-pin connectors, for example, there are also fuses built in there, right? So it's right below the 8-pin connectors. You can see, these little white gold fuses there.
It won't focus right, the camera.
Yeah, I think it. Yes. There we go. Yeah. So you can see some extra protection there as well, so that if anything should happen, like a power surge or whatever, that it won't directly affect the card at first. The fuses will protect it, and so your card should be fine. Again, it's something like a lightning strike or a power surge. I don't know if it happens a lot, but if it happens, this card is safe.
Now, if the fuses blow, probably the card won't work, but it will protect the rest of the system. So
yeah, well, then it's indeed it's but also it's easier to replace fuses than and get the card working, and then it would be to.
Yeah, if you're really handy, you should maybe be able to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite a basic card if you look at it.
Yeah.
Like, but still quite expensive.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you see the performance and that it offers in games, and also the cooling performance, of course, that's really good from the cooler itself. And the backplate also adds a little bit to that, so let's not forget that. And indeed, so it's cooled both a bit from the mostly from the front, but also a little bit from the back. That's also why the thermal pads were covering a lot of those traces and like the rear end of the components that are on the other side of the PCB. Yeah.
Somebody is asking about the support bracket. Does he need to use it?
No.
It's not necessary. No.
No, it shouldn't be. It's there for you as an option, but it's not that we say you have to use it or we even recommend using it. It's really down to you. In the end, any relatively recent and decent quality PC, that means motherboard and case, should be able to handle a card like this and the weight. Of course, that doesn't take into account if you very often, for example, transport that PC and then throw it in your car and over bumpy roads and stuff like that. Then indeed, that's the exact situation where we kind of would recommend to use a support bracket. Also, it's mostly for example, SIs, so as we call them, system integrators. So if you buy a ready-made PC from a shop, those people then have to either transport the PC to you through, for example, one of like FedEx or UPS, whatever. Or you could go and get it, of course, but then you still have to drive home. So that, that transport and the bumpy road, let's say, that's the time when something like that could help to prevent any damage, because you never know what you're going to encounter on the road. And it has happened, unfortunately, in some cases that indeed either components were not fully seated anymore, so that when the PC arrives at somebody at home and they try to turn it on, it doesn't work because some of the components, they weren't necessarily damaged, but they were simply like, lodged out of the socket a little bit, enough that it wouldn't work. And I mean, for our graphics card, yes, it's big, it's heavy, it needs that for the cooling. So that's why we did want to add into the box, and I think all our triple fan models have this in the box, both Ventus and gaming models. They have this support bracket in the box, so that at least you have the option if you want.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Do you want to see anything more from the card?
Yeah, I was just looking at the chat to see if there's any more. I mean, there's always interesting questions, but if there's any.
Will this fit in a Trident X with older 2080 Ti?
Ooh,
that's a good question because it has a 2080 Ti Ventus in there, but that's a two-fan solution.
And not just a two-fan solution.
Oh, it's also
I think it's only dual slot. The Ventus 2080. Oh no, actually 2080 Ti. I'm not sure.
Good question, actually.
I think 2080 Ti even is also dual slot in terms of the thickness of the card, the width. So this card being 2.7 slots.
Yeah, it's.
Also, even the Ventus is 2.5 slots this generation, and a bit longer because it has 3 fans instead of 2.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd probably expect that won't fit.
You can find the dimensions on our website.
Correct.
I should test it, but I don't know yet.
Yeah. People are asking if we want to do a Ventus teardown. I don't know if we have time for that, honestly, because we.
No, the security will come here in 10 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Will kick us out.
So we really have to end the stream. What I will do is I will do another giveaway though, and then maybe in one of the next streams, maybe next week when we cover 3090. Maybe do you have the 3090 there? We have it in the box. I know that for sure.
We've got it in the box.
Exactly. So
like it says here.
Yes, 3090.
Yeah, you cannot probably not see it, but that's a 90.
Yeah. Anyway, so next week, also on a Thursday, the 24th of September, that's where we're going to cover the 3090. It's going to be a similar-ish stream to this one, but then all about the 3090. And of course, we'll have both Ventus and gaming as well. As you see, the gaming is already there. Peter is doing his work on it. Also for that one, we are eagerly awaiting drivers to see if we can do the tests, and then hopefully we can also give you some a good overview of those cards next week. I'll quickly announce the last winner as well. Here we go. So the last winner, actually I will do two.
Ooh,
yeah, I mean, we're feeling generous. It's been a long stream and we haven't done that many giveaways.
It's
so
quite long, yeah.
All right, first winner is called Konasu. Congratulations. We're going to get the code out to you as soon as possible. And our last winner is called Cluedo 00. Also congratulations to you.
Yeah.
Yes, Cluedo. We'll also get the code out to you as soon as possible, and so $20 Steam wallet code coming your way. So that leaves us this stream with, well, thank you all for joining pretty much. I hope you enjoyed the stream. You got the information you wanted. If not, let us know in the comments. Then maybe next week we can cover some other or more topics that we didn't cover this week. And yeah, we hope to see you again next week, Thursday, same time, but different GPU.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.